Have you ever felt tired when you work nonstop every day, but your bank account doesn't get better? Waking up early, coming home late, taking on extra jobs, struggling for every penny, yet at the end of the month, there's still not much left? And then you ask yourself, is being hardworking wrong? Don't jump to conclusions. You're not lazy, you're not wrong. You're just making a very common mistake. Doing too many things without simplifying. Today, I want to tell you a truth. Rich people don't do a lot. Rich people do little, but do it right. So why can they live abundantly, have time to rest, travel, and invest, while you are too busy to even think about the weekend? Stop and watch this entire video, because this might be the last time you have to live in a frantic way just to survive. In today's video, I will share with you the reason why the more you simplify, the richer you become. The things rich people eliminate to optimize their finances, and 4 simple formulas to help you do less but live more abundantly. If you're working but can't save even $5 million at the end of the month, if you're busy all the time but don't see your life improving, if you feel like you're trying forever but not getting anywhere, this video is for you. This video is for you. Watch until the end, and if you see yourself somewhere in my words, comment, "I want to simplify," so I know you're still here. Let's start. Try to imagine waking up every morning without rushing. You have time to eat breakfast, plan in peace. You only focus on 1 or 2 jobs that genuinely generate income. You don't need 5 jobs at once, you don't need to work day and night, but you still feel abundant. Not because of luck, not because you were born rich, but because they know how to simplify finances and optimize life. It sounds simple, but to live like that requires a strong change in mindset, because most of us, since childhood, have been taught that the more you work, the more you earn. Whoever is more diligent will be richer. The busier you are, the better you are. But don't you see, the busier you are, the more stressed you become? The more you do, the more scattered you become. The more things you take on, the less complete anything becomes. On the contrary, rich people choose very little, but whatever they choose, they do it thoroughly. They don't care about rushing deadlines for 7 places. They don't jump into 10 small opportunities. They choose to focus, simplify, and optimize their finances and time. And this creates a huge difference. In the following sections, I will clarify the mistakes you are making that keep you poor despite being very diligent, the simplistic mindset that rich people use to build wealth, 4 principles to help you simplify your finances but maximize your cash flow, and especially practical examples that will make you change today. If you find this introduction relatable, please like the video, because the more people watch, the more people will be enlightened like you. And now we will begin with the first part, the deadly mistake of poor people, working a lot but still poor. Many of us grew up with the belief that if you work hard, you will be rich, that the busier you are, the more jobs you take on, the more proud you should be. You work 8 hours, come home and take on another job, take advantage of online sales, and then read financial books at midnight. You think you're on the path to success. But the harsh truth is that every month you're short on money. On weekends, all you want to do is sleep, your body is exhausted, your mind is chaotic, and most importantly, your bank account still hasn't moved much. Why is that? Because you believed in a very big mistake. The more you work, the richer you become.
Do you know one of the biggest paradoxes of poor people is that they think they have to grind to get rich? The more they grind, the more money they'll have. But rich people don't think that way. They don't work by burning themselves out, but they work by optimizing. Poor people do 10 things, each earning $1. Rich people do 1 thing, but earn $100. Not because they are better, but because they know how to eliminate unnecessary tasks. They don't waste time on things that create little value. They don't grab every opportunity just because they're afraid of missing out. They choose the most important task and do it as deeply as possible. Meanwhile, poor people suffer from a very common syndrome, fake busyness syndrome, meaning they always feel like they're doing something, but in reality, they're just going in circles. Constantly checking emails, replying to group messages, doing small tasks all day, but not creating real value. The busier they are, the more stressed they feel. But the more stressed they are, the more they think they need to do more to escape poverty. A vicious cycle that continues year after year. An easy example to see is investing time in small, low-profit jobs. Many people take on 4 or 5 jobs at the same time, each earning a few $100,000. They think it adds up to something worthwhile, but the truth is, they have scattered their entire focus. They're not good at anything, they don't do anything deeply enough, And the result is that big opportunities never come because no one dares to entrust important work to someone who works superficially. Rich people, on the contrary, can spend a whole week thinking about a strategy or a whole month building a system. They are not rushed. They work selectively because they understand that time is the most precious asset. 1 hour of quality work is worth more than a week of busy work that produces no results. They would rather refuse 99 average opportunities to choose exactly one life-changing opportunity. The next mistake is thinking that knowing a lot means being strong. Poor people love to jump from one thing to another. They haven't finished learning about investing before jumping into crypto. They don't understand the essence of affiliate marketing before running ads and losing money. Every time they see someone succeed in a field, they immediately jump in. But rich people are different. They choose one thing and learn it thoroughly. They know that knowledge only has power when combined with focus and perseverance. Simplification here means knowing how to say no to dozens of fleeting opportunities to focus on what you are best at. Another reason why poor people work tirelessly but remain poor is that they cannot distinguish between labor and value creation. Many people think that just working long hours will make them rich, but the truth is not like that. You can work 12 hours a day, but if it's repetitive work with no scalability and no system creation, you're just depleting your energy. Rich people always find ways to work with leverage: knowledge leverage, technology leverage, system leverage, human leverage. One effort yields multiple returns. As for poor people, one effort yields one return, accumulating nothing but exhaustion. So if you're stuck in a continuous work cycle but don't feel more abundant, it's time to reevaluate. You don't need another job. You don't need to take another course. You need to simplify everything you're doing. Ask yourself a simple question. Is what I'm doing truly bringing me closer to financial freedom? If not, let it go, because your time is limited, and rich people understand that more than anyone. That's why rich people don't need to work a lot, but still live abundantly.
They are not drawn into the addiction of busyness. They don't follow the crowd. They don't take on everything just to feel valuable. They simplify. And thanks to simplification, they choose the right things, do them the right way, and achieve the right results. If rich people don't live complicated lives, they don't let their lives be dominated by dozens of unnecessary things. While many poor people spend money to buy feelings, rich people spend money to buy value. They understand that every penny must serve a specific goal, either to generate money or to create ease in life. And if an expense doesn't bring one of those two things, they'll pass it up without regret. Financial simplification for rich people is not about living ascetically, but about living selectively. The minimalist mindset starts with a question. What do I truly need to live better? Not needing more, but needing the right things. Rich people don't buy 10 shirts only to wear 2. They choose 2 really good ones that fit well, are durable, suitable, and wear them with confidence. In finance, it's the same. They don't invest in 10 places, a few $100,000 in each, only to have none of them yield results. They choose 1 or 2 channels that suit their abilities, research thoroughly, follow proper procedures, and generate steady profits. They know that focus brings greater results than dispersion. A friend I know had steady passive income from real estate at age 30. While his peers were still scrambling, worrying about every rent payment, he lived an easy life. He once said, "I used to work 3 or 4 jobs at the same time, sleeping only 4 hours a day. But after a few years, I realized what I was doing was trading health for short-term income. I stopped. I sold off unnecessary assets, I simplified my life, and I learned to invest slowly, steadily, and carefully. After 3 years of simplification, I no longer needed to work a lot. Money still came in." That story made me think a lot. Not everyone dares to stop, but whoever stops at the right time will go further than those who keep running without knowing where they're going. Rich people simplify at all 3 levels: material, financial, and mental. They don't let themselves waste energy on trivial daily decisions. Some successful entrepreneurs wear the same type of clothes every day, not because they lack money, but because they want to save their brain power for big decisions. They don't want to stand in front of their wardrobe every morning asking what to wear today. In finance, it's the same. They automate spending. They plan clearly for each category of money: living expenses, investments, emergency funds. They don't let emotions guide their wallets because they understand that a simple but effective system will free them from pressure and mistakes. Poor people are often caught up in the who has more game: more stuff, more work, more relationships, more responsibilities. But the more they have, the more exhausted they become. Rich people, on the contrary, they play the who has less but is more effective game. Fewer decisions, but the right ones. Fewer tasks, but higher quality. Less spending, but more valuable. That is the spirit of simplification. Simplification doesn't mean having less, but focusing more. And when you focus, you will develop many times faster. The minimalist mindset also helps rich people avoid a very dangerous trap: the trap of unconscious consumption. They don't buy things because of discounts. They don't invest because of FOMO. They don't spend money to show off. They spend according to long-term value. If an item doesn't help them earn more, learn more, or live more deeply, they don't need it. This may sound strict, but it's actually very liberating. Income systems are mandated by this.
Because when you cut out unnecessary things, you clearly see what is enough, and that enough is the beginning of abundance. Rich people understand that every penny saved today is a brick laid for tomorrow's freedom. But their savings don't come from living a hard life, but from living strategically. They don't let money fall into meaningless things. They don't buy happiness with material possessions. They invest in experiences, in knowledge, in profit-generating systems. They choose to live with fewer things, but of higher quality, and thus they are freer. If you want to be rich, don't start by doing more. Start by letting go of things. Let go of unnecessary tasks, people who don't help you grow, unworthy expenses, and unfounded fears. When you let go, you'll feel lighter, clearer, and from there, you'll have space to truly invest in what's important. That is true simplification. And it's also the smartest way to optimize finances and optimize life. Financial simplification is not just a lifestyle, it's a wealth-building strategy. Rich people know that, so they don't waste time chasing every penny. They focus on building a solid financial foundation. First is controlling expenses. They know exactly where every penny goes. There's no spending first and then checking the account. They budget, categorize income and expenses, and cut out things that don't bring real value. They understand that abundance doesn't come from high income, but from knowing how to save and use money correctly. The second principle is creating automated income streams. Rich people don't let money sit idle. They make money work for them. They invest in channels that generate steady cash flow, such as rental properties, dividend stocks, businesses with systems, or digital products. They don't rely on just one source of income. When one source is affected, other sources still ensure cash flow. That's how they remain unshaken by fluctuations. Simplification here means not doing everything at once, but choosing the right things that can operate independently and generate long-term profits. The third principle is optimizing time. Rich people don't use time for trivial tasks. They use time to think, design systems, and build strategies. They don't spend hours comparing prices of every item. They don't spend the entire morning talking aimlessly. They know that time is the only asset that cannot be regained, and so they invest time in things that can yield many times more results in the future. That's why they always seem relaxed. But in reality, every minute of their time is creating value. The fourth and most important principle is mental freedom. Rich people simplify even their thoughts. They don't carry dozens of worries in their heads. They don't let the past drag them down or the future frighten them. They live in the present with clarity. Every decision is based on principles, not fleeting emotions. They are not afraid of being judged. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. They choose simplicity in their minds to preserve energy for what's important. And that simplicity helps them stay alert and clear-headed, thus making accurate decisions. Financial simplification doesn't mean giving up all joys. On the contrary, rich people know how to enjoy life very well. But their enjoyment doesn't come from excessive material possessions, but from true freedom. Freedom from debt pressure, freedom from wrong choices, freedom from reliance on a paycheck. When you don't have to worry every time you spend money, when you can rest and money still comes in, when you can choose to live the way you want, that's when you understand why simplification is the path of the rich. Poor people often think, when I have a lot of money,
I'll manage it better. But in reality, it's the opposite. If you can't manage small amounts of money, you'll also fail with large amounts. Simplification doesn't require you to be rich already. It requires you to start today. Reevaluate all your expenses. Cross out unnecessary things. Learn to invest in yourself before investing externally. Eliminate emotional spending habits. Start small, but in the right direction, and large numbers will come. Simplification also helps you avoid dangerous social traps. The trap of showing off, the trap of competition, the trap of comparison. Rich people don't compete with anyone. They have their own criteria. They buy things because they need them, not because someone else is using them. They travel because they want to, not because they see others traveling. They don't need to prove anything because their finances speak for themselves. As for poor people, because they don't have financial principles, they are easily drawn into other people's games, buying unnecessary things, borrowing money without a plan, investing with the crowd, and then wondering why they never get ahead. Financial simplification, optimizing life, is a journey of awakening. When you start to see what is true value and what is fake, when you know how to refuse the easy to choose the right, when you no longer live according to others' expectations, but according to your own value system. That's when you truly embark on the path of doing less, but living abundantly. No need to grind day and night, no need to trade health for assets. Just be alert, selective, minimalist, and persistent. Rich people walk this path, and if you are ready, you can too. Simplification also brings an invisible advantage that very few people realize. Deep focus. When you're not distracted by dozens of trivial tasks, when your schedule isn't crammed with meaningless appointments or obligatory tasks, you have space to truly think. Rich people use simplicity to create depth. They have time to see the big picture, to analyze strategies, to foresee risks, and to optimize every important detail in life. Meanwhile, poor people are often caught up in a chaotic rhythm of life, only reacting to what's happening rather than actively leading their lives. Try to recall the last time you had a quiet morning, undisturbed, just to sit and think about your long-term direction. When was that? Most won't remember because you're stuck between phone notifications, unexpected calls, urgent but unimportant requests. You don't live by a plan, but you live by the urgency of others. Rich people are not like that. They design their lives to protect their focus. They know that 1 hour of deep work is worth 10 times more than a day of half-hearted work. They use simplification to protect their intellect and energy from the distractions of the modern age. One of the biggest differences between the rich and the poor is not in their assets, but in their strategic mindset. Rich people always start with the question, how can I not have to do this forever? While poor people ask, how can I do a little more? One person seeks to multiply time and income, the other only tries to deplete themselves for every penny. Simplification here is correctly recognizing the value of your time, refusing tasks that cannot be scaled or leveraged. Simplification is the first step to escape the cycle of working endlessly without getting ahead, living without freedom. Rich people are also very clear in choosing relationships. They don't just associate with anyone. They don't attend every party, every chat group, every gathering. They choose people who help them grow in mindset, values, and opportunities. They simplify relationships to be deeper, not more scattered.
Poor people, on the contrary, are afraid of offending others, afraid of being judged, so they embrace everything. In the end, they are exhausted from both working and maintaining dozens of superficial relationships. Simplifying relationships doesn't mean being cold. It means being alert in choosing the right people to go further together. One more thing simplification helps rich people control their emotions. Have you noticed that the times we spend money most foolishly are when our emotions are unstable? Sadness leads to shopping to forget. Stress leads to overeating. Insecurity leads to borrowing money to buy a phone to avoid feeling inferior. Rich people don't let emotions control their wallets. They have clear rules. Every expense must serve a specific goal. They don't spend money to fill a mental void. They simplify to clearly see what are true needs and what are fleeting emotions. And that discipline helps them maintain long-term financial stability. Simplification also helps them clear unnecessary commitments. Poor people often fall into the trap of adding more, while rich people prioritize eliminating. You'll find that rich people have very concise schedules, but every appointment has a clear goal, while poor people's schedules are often packed, but after a week they don't know what they've achieved. Simplification is not about doing less, but about doing the right things. It's not about laziness, but about wisdom. They do things that create results, not just to feel busy. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you feel like you work all week but still can't make ends meet, it might be time to stop. Not to give up, but to re-choose, to cut, to simplify. Because when you're still scrambling on the hamster wheel of life, you never have enough quiet space to ask yourself, where am I running to? Am I running very fast, but in the wrong direction? Rich people don't run fast. They walk slowly but surely, and that's why they reach the destination first. Simplification is not a trend, it's a choice of life, a deliberate, thoughtful, strategic choice. It doesn't make you live poorly, but makes you live focused. It doesn't force you to sacrifice joy, but helps you rediscover what's truly important. In this chaotic era, simplification is no longer a luxury choice, but a necessity if you want to remain sane, stay afloat, and move forward steadily. Rich people understand that. What about you? Are you ready to start your journey of financial simplification and life optimization today? When you start the journey of simplification, you'll realize one thing. Most of the things you once thought were necessary are actually just habits, social pressure, or the fear of being left behind. You once thought you needed a new car to be like your friends. You once thought you needed to buy a house early to keep up with everyone. You once thought you needed to pursue many things at once to make the most of your time. But when you peel back those layers, you'll see more clearly what's truly important in your life. Simplification doesn't start from your wallet, it starts from within, from daring to ask, what is enough for me? Rich people set very clear boundaries. They don't do extra work just because others do. They don't buy more just because there's a promotion. They know that one wrong decision today can cost them an entire year later. Therefore, they choose carefully, do little, but do it well. Buy little, but buy quality. Live simply, but with depth. Simplification helps them avoid costly mistakes, both financially and mentally. They are not exceptionally intelligent, but they know how to keep themselves from being drawn into the negative spirals that society whispers in your ear every day.
You can see many people out there who are exhausted by the very lives they created for themselves. They're in credit card debt, they're stuck in long-term installment payments, they live in big houses but are constantly worried about losing their jobs. They dress luxuriously but are full of anxiety inside. They work non-stop but cannot truly enjoy a peaceful meal. And all this is because they didn't stop to ask, am I living true to my values? Rich people don't let themselves fall into that situation. They don't let finances control them. They control their finances through simplification and mindfulness. When you start to simplify, you also start to regain the power of choice. Previously, you had to work because you were afraid of not having money. Now, you work because you want to and because it's worth it. Previously, you spent money because of emotions. Now you spend for goals. Previously, you lived passively, reacting to everything. Now you actively select every single thing that enters your life. That is the transformation that only simplification can bring. And the best part is, you don't need to wait until you're rich to do it. You can start today from the smallest things.
Try opening your wallet and looking at how many things in there you don't actually use. Look at your daily schedule. How many tasks in there can you actually eliminate? Review the list of expenses you've made in the last 30 days. How many of them were because you truly needed it or just because it seemed appealing at the time? The answer will surprise you, and if you're brave enough to admit, "I've been living a bit chaotically," then that's when you're ready to live a different life. A lighter, clearer, more abundant life. Simplification doesn't mean cutting everything off, but keeping what's worthwhile. Keep the work that truly creates value. Keep the relationships that truly support you. Keep the expenses that truly help you grow. And when you keep the right things, your life will become easier to breathe than ever before. You'll have time to sip a cup of coffee without worrying about deadlines. You'll have money to take your parents on a trip without bothering about next month's bills. You'll have space to dream bigger because you're no longer dragged down by trivial things. Rich people are not ascetic. They are people who know how to organize their lives so they don't have to suffer. And simplification is how they do it. They don't compete. They don't chase. They don't panic when the market fluctuates. They maintain their rhythm of life because they have eliminated all unnecessary things. You can do the same. No need to change everything at once. Just start by asking yourself every day, is this truly necessary? And gradually, you will take steady steps towards the abundant life you deserve. When you maintain simplicity in your mindset and finances, you start to realize something important. Freedom is not about how much money you have, but about how much of your life you control. Rich people don't live feeling dragged along. They live by their own decisions. They can say no to unsuitable opportunities. They can stop without fear of being left behind. They can rest without guilt because they know that everything they are doing is within their control. That is the deepest essence of wealth, self-determination. Simplification is not just a technique for reorganizing finances. It's how you regain control. When you simplify, you know exactly what's happening in your wallet, in your schedule, and even in your thoughts. You no longer live by reaction. You live by strategy. And when you live strategically, you will no longer be overwhelmed by a sense of insecurity when unexpected things happen.
Because you have a financial cushion, you have time to react calmly, and you have a solid mindset to make the right decisions. Look at how rich people plan. They don't plan every day with a packed schedule. They plan by priority. They know what work brings the biggest results, and they dedicate time to it. What can be delegated, they assign. What is unnecessary, they discard. Their time management reflects exactly how they manage money: sensible allocation, clear goals, elimination of waste. Simplification is the core operating principle of life, not just a way of spending money. You can apply this principle today. No need to change everything at once. Just choose one area in your life that feels chaotic: finances, work, relationships, time, and start decluttering. The first step could be to write down all your expenses from the past week. Review your list of friends and chat groups you're in. Look at your work schedule for this week and cross out meaningless appointments. Every small action like that will give you a little more space in your mind, in your time, and in your wallet. Rich people always maintain a certain amount of empty space in their lives. They don't let everything get crammed. Their schedules always have free time for thinking. Their accounts always have a portion of emergency funds. Their minds always have space to breathe, to receive new ideas, to reevaluate everything. That's why they react more flexibly, are less passive, and are better at seizing opportunities than others. Simplification helps them maintain that flexibility, and that flexibility is the foundation for building sustainable wealth. You might think, I'm not even making enough to live, let alone simplify. But that's exactly why you need to simplify. Because when you are already abundant, you will make fewer mistakes. But when you are struggling, every wrong decision will cost you much more dearly. So simplification is not for the rich. It is a tool to help those who are not yet rich move faster towards freedom. When you are not distracted, you are not wasteful, you are not burdened by debt, you have more opportunities to accumulate. And when you accumulate enough, you will start to invest. That is the cycle rich people always go through.
Remember, being rich is not about having more than others. Being rich is about having enough for what you choose. Some people live on 10 million dong a month but always have surplus. Some people earn 100 million dong a month but are still short. The difference lies in the minimalist mindset. Minimalist people always know what they truly need. They don't spend to show off. They don't work to please anyone. They live by their own standards, simple, neat, but full of power. And they are not swayed by public opinion, by advertising, by comparisons. They walk their own path and go very far. If you are tired of chasing too many things, stop. If you see your life tangled like a ball of yarn, start untangling one knot at a time. No need to rush, no need to be noisy, but step by step, you will see that within simplicity lies a greater power than any complexity you've ever experienced. And from there, you will find true freedom. Not freedom because you have a lot, but freedom because you know you have enough. Not because you can do everything, but because you choose to do the right things and let go of the rest. That's how rich people live, and you can too. When you practice financial simplification long enough, you'll realize something extremely important. You don't need to be rich by other standards. You only need enough to live true to your values and have enough surplus not to be influenced by trivial things. Rich people understand this very well, so they don't spend money to prove their status.
They don't need to buy luxury cars to be respected, not big houses to be admired, not branded clothes to feel confident. They know true confidence comes from within, from competence, from self-understanding, from good control over finances and life. That's also why truly rich people often live very simply. They might use an old phone if it still works well. They might wear the same type of shirt every day without feeling ashamed. They choose to spend on what truly serves their goals instead of chasing trends. Simplification allows them to channel resources into truly profitable investments, knowledge, assets, quality relationships. And from those things, their finances grow steadily and sustainably, instead of impulsively like those who spend emotionally. You might be thinking, rich people say that because they have money. But on the contrary, it's precisely because they once didn't have money that they understood the value of simplification. Many people started from scratch, from a normal job, from a tight salary. But instead of spending it all to keep up with a superficial life, they chose to simplify. They didn't go out drinking every weekend, didn't borrow money to buy a flashy car, didn't invest because they listened to others. They lived below their financial means to save, to accumulate, to wait for opportunities. And when opportunities came, they were ready because their lives were organized, not chaotic, not burdensome. Simplification helps you maintain clarity in a chaotic world. When everyone around you is running, you can walk slowly but not lose your way. When everyone spends money to relieve emotions, you hold back to think. When everyone fears missing out, you choose to focus. That's how rich people survive amidst the storm. They don't panic because they've cleared away everything that could make them fall. They simplify, not because it's a trend, but because they understand that complexity always entails risk, while simplicity helps them go far while staying light. You want to invest? Simplify your portfolio. Don't hold 10 investment channels just because everyone says they're opportunities. Choose 1 or 2 channels you deeply understand, work thoroughly, and can control. You want to start a business? Simplify your model. Don't expand too quickly. Don't hire staff indiscriminately. Don't borrow money to buy an image. Stay lean, turn over quickly, react flexibly. You want financial freedom? Simplify your expectations. Don't think you need billions of dong to live happily. Maybe you only need 20 million dong a month, but it's stable, proactive, and comes from a system you created. When expectations are simplified, the path will be closer. Rich people continually simplify, even when they already have enough, because they understand that the fewer things they have to worry about, the more space they have to create. The fewer trivial decisions they make, the clearer they are with big decisions. The fewer possessions they have, the easier it is to be flexible. They are not bound by assets. They own everything, but are still ready to let go if it no longer holds value.
Simplification doesn't make them lack. It helps them clearly see what truly brings wealth: time, health, clarity, and autonomy. If you're feeling overwhelmed, perhaps the problem isn't your income, but that you're holding on to too many unnecessary things, too many commitments, too many expectations, too much impulsive spending, too many fears. It's time to peel off each layer, gently but decisively. Remove a meaningless meeting. Remove an expense for show. Remove a job just to maintain an image. The more you remove, the clearer you will see. And when everything is clear, you will start moving in the right direction. Simplification is not about making you live without. It's about making you live at the right level, in the right way, with the right values. Simplification doesn't make you suffer. It makes you happier because you're no longer straining to live like others. You don't have to borrow money to prove yourself. Don't have to tire yourself out to keep up. Don't have to trade time for unworthy things. You live as yourself, neat, stable, confident. That is the greatest wealth you can possess, and no one can take it away from you. When you live simply, you are no longer influenced by external factors. You are no longer startled by sales. You no longer feel anxious when you see others showing off houses, cars, lavish lives. You learn to stand firm in a crowd without needing to shout for attention. You can be quiet but full of courage, and that makes you different. Rich people don't need daily praise. They don't need anyone's recognition to feel valuable. Their value lies in their inner strength, built from principles of simplification, discipline, and consistency over time. Rich people know that stability doesn't come from earning a lot, but from keeping a lot. And to keep, you need to simplify, because only when your life is not cluttered can you control it. Too many needs, you'll chase them. Too many commitments, you'll be tied down. Too much debt, you'll lose freedom. But when everything is simplified to just enough, you'll be surprised to find your life feels much lighter. Lighter from thoughts, lighter from emotions, lighter from pressure. And from that lightness, you'll start making wiser, stronger, more decisive choices than ever before. Simplification is not boring at all. On the contrary, it's a door to a deeper life. Instead of eating quickly to make it to work on time, you can enjoy breakfast slowly in mindfulness. Instead of spending money on 10 cheap and easily broken items, you choose one really good item and use it for a long time. Instead of following breaking news every day, you spend time reading a life-changing book deeply. Rich people are very good at delving deep into one thing instead of knowing many things superficially. And it's that ability to focus deeply that makes them break through, while others are perpetually distracted. Once you understand simplification deeply, you'll start applying it to every aspect, not just money, but also work, relationships, time, and health. You'll find you don't need to meet everyone, don't need to keep in touch with people who no longer share your direction. You are no longer afraid of being judged when you refuse an invitation, a meeting, or a request from someone. You filter, you streamline, you protect your living space, protect your mind, protect your energy. That's how you create a financial and mental safe zone to grow strong from within. Rich people regularly audit their lives. They don't just check their savings accounts or investment assets, but they also audit their time, relationships, and satisfaction with each decision. They don't let things drift unconsciously. Every action, every expense, every commitment is consciously considered, and thus they can adjust quickly when something isn't working. This is the key point that allows them to maintain steady growth. They don't let mistakes drag on. Simplification helps them spot errors early and correct them in time. You can do that too. Start by writing down what in your life is truly creating value. What makes you tired but doesn't yield results? What can you let go of? What can you do less of? What are you doing just out of habit or because others expect it? Be honest with yourself. Don't be afraid to let go. Don't be afraid of what people say, because in the end, you are the one who has to live with the consequences of your choices,
not them. Simplification won't turn you into a cold or insensitive person. It will only help you waste less energy on unimportant things so you have more energy for things that truly matter. You'll have time to take care of yourself, have the mindset to listen to loved ones, have money to help those in need without hesitation. You will live more deeply, not by appearance, but by true presence in every moment. And that presence makes your life richer than ever before. Rich people do little, but do it right. They are not rushed, they don't show off, they are not led by public opinion. They know what they need, and they go in the right direction. They can be silent for a long time, but one day they surprise the world with what they have quietly built. That is the nature of sustainable success. It's not noisy, it doesn't need tricks, it just needs a persistent, minimalist, and strategic person. If you understand this, you are ready to start your own journey to wealth. Gentle but effective, simple but powerful. Simplification is the foundation, and consistency is the bridge that takes you from just getting by to true abundance. Rich people don't succeed overnight. They don't get rich from a lucky investment or a miracle idea. They simply persist in a minimalist, focused, and resilient lifestyle. Every day they do a little, let go a little, optimize a little, and little by little they build assets, time, and freedom that others think are impossible.
Instead of maintaining relationships for politeness, you choose to filter them to find true companions. Rich people don't simplify to suffer, they simplify to live authentically. They don't aim to have everything, they aim to have what's most needed. They don't want to be busy, they want to be proactive. They don't want many things, they want freedom. And that's why they can work less, worry less, feel less pressure, but their effectiveness is outstanding. Meanwhile, poor people live the opposite way. They take on a lot, work a lot, worry a lot, try a lot, but the results don't change, because the root lies in the mindset. It's not about doing a lot, but about doing the right things. It's not about knowing a lot, but about knowing how to discard what's unnecessary. Simplification is also a way to protect your psyche and spirit from the chaos of the modern age. When you constantly receive information, constantly compare, constantly are influenced, you get tired. And when you're tired, you're prone to making wrong decisions. Rich people protect themselves from this mental depletion by living a clean life, even in information, environment, and relationships. They don't follow every piece of news. They don't talk to everyone. They don't chase every trend. They know how to select to maintain a quiet, safe zone for themselves where clarity and creativity can flourish. Simplification is a silent luxury. You don't need to show off. You just need to be clear-headed and decisive enough not to carry unnecessary things. When that happens, every step you take will be steadier. Every penny you earn will be clearer. Every decision you make will be lighter but more precise. And that clarity is something many people out there never achieve in their lives because they are too busy to stop and clean up. You don't need to go fast, you just need to go light, but in the right direction. And simplification is the starting point for all that is right. Simplification is not just an act of decluttering physical possessions, but a process of rebuilding your entire belief system and way of life. It requires the courage to look directly at what's holding you back. Courage to ask, do I truly need this? For every item, every expense, every relationship, every habit. Because wealth is not in owning more, but in getting rid of unnecessary burdens. Rich people understand that they cannot fly if they carry too many heavy things. You can start with the simplest way. Write down the 3 things that are currently causing you the most pressure in life. It could be work, debt, relationships, or unfulfilled expectations. Then ask yourself, is there anything among these that I can give up, reduce, or organize more neatly? Surprisingly, when you start thinking that way, you'll find many things you can lighten that you never allowed yourself to let go of before. Simplification is giving yourself the right to clear things out so that your living space, mental space, and financial space all become clearer. Rich people don't blindly pursue goals. They know when to stop. They know what's enough. They don't try to prove themselves with numbers, awards, or public praise. They just need to know they are on the right track, living by their own value system, and are free in their choices. This clarity is what helps them avoid the dangerous trap of the poor, the trap of endless desire. Poor people often don't know when to stop, so they keep running to earn more, to have more, to be recognized more. But the more they run, the more they fall into a vicious cycle. Simplification is stopping at the right time. It's a break that prevents you from plunging into a deep hole. It's a pause for reflection before making a decision. It's a strategic step back to see the whole picture.
Rich people can temporarily stop a profitable project if they find it's no longer suitable. They can refuse a great opportunity if they find it doesn't align with the system they are building. They don't need to chase everything. They just need to focus on what creates the highest value at the lowest cost of money, time, energy, and mental peace. One of the clearest manifestations of a minimalist person is that they are not impulsive. They don't make decisions based on temporary inspiration. They don't spend money based on emotion. They put everything through a filter. Does this align with the system I'm building? If yes, they do it. If not, they stop. No explanation needed, no rationalization needed. They know that every wrong decision has a price to pay, and sometimes that price is not in their wallet, but in their spirit, time, and even opportunities they lose in the future. Simplification also helps them recover more easily from setbacks. A person who lives a very complicated life will fall into chaos when hit by a shock because they have too many things to worry about: assets, debts, intertwined responsibilities, intertwined expectations. But a minimalist person, when affected, can reorganize everything very quickly. They know exactly what they are keeping, why they are keeping it, and if necessary, they can let go at the right time to preserve the core. That flexibility is a strength that not everyone possesses. It helps them stand firm amidst changes, and sometimes it's precisely during changes that they break through more strongly than others. You can start practicing this by setting a filtering rule for yourself. For example, I will not spend any money without thinking for at least 24 hours. Or, I will not take on any new work until I finish the old work. Or simply, I will not let anyone into my life if they don't bring positive emotions or respect. Small rules like these will gradually shape a clean living system where everything has a reason, order, and clarity. And from that system, you will start building a lighter, deeper, and freer life. Simplification is not a goal, it is a tool. It's a tool to make space for what's truly important. A tool to clearly see what excess is holding you back. A tool to recover energy, regain focus, and head towards the only thing worthy of your effort, a life worth living. Rich people are not better than you because they are lucky. They are better than you because they know how to clean up their lives, clean up their finances, clean up their value system, until what remains is truly strong and effective. And from there, they walk with a lightness that others perceive as easy, but is actually a deliberate choice. Once you become accustomed to the minimalist mindset, you will start to develop an extremely valuable skill, knowing how to say no. Say no to attractive but unnecessary things. Say no to meetings, appointments, invitations that don't serve long-term goals. Say no to spending for ego, to jobs due to pressure, to commitments out of fear of offending. Rich people are very good at saying no. They are not afraid of missing out, not afraid of being disliked, not afraid of being considered arrogant, because they know that a timely no will save them a lot of time, energy, and money to do what's truly important. Simplification helps them focus on the only thing that matters: leverage. Every action, every investment, every relationship must have leverage, meaning one effort yields multiple results. Poor people often work by trading labor for money. The more they work, the more they get tired. Rich people, on the contrary, they build systems, build assets, build networks. They choose jobs that can be scaled, operate independently, or grow exponentially.
And to do that, they are forced to simplify. Because if they take on too much, if they lack selection, they won't have enough space to implement big leverages. If you truly want to get rich, start by reducing. Reduce jobs with no future, reduce unprofitable expenses, reduce valueless relationships, reduce unhelpful habits. Simplification is the first action to regain time, then focus, then results. Poor people often try to do more. Rich people try to do things right. And unfortunately, most of us are taught how to do more from a young age, but rarely taught how to stop and select. That's why many people grow up in a state of panic, always thinking they're not enough, always thinking they need to run faster, always comparing, always competing. They plunge into work not out of passion, but out of fear. They spend money not out of need, but out of pressure. They invest not out of understanding, but out of fear of being left behind. And all this creates a chaotic life. The harder they try, the more confused they get. The more confused, the more worried. And the more worried, the more wrong decisions they make. Rich people don't let themselves fall into that spiral. They separate themselves by living simply to see life more clearly, to see themselves more clearly. You don't need to be a genius to simplify. You just need courage. Courage to say, I don't need this extra thing. Courage to cross out a plan. Courage to refuse an invitation. Courage to reorganize your life in a way that makes you breathe easier. And sometimes, the very things you let go of are what help you succeed faster. Rich people understand this very well. They don't chase everything. They only chase what they truly want. And that's why they reach the finish line faster and lighter. One more special thing. When you live simply, you will attract higher quality people. You no longer talk to people who only like to show off, compete, argue. You no longer waste time with groups of people who are always negative, complaining, blaming. You start connecting with people who live slowly but steadily, deeply but concisely. People who are not noisy but full of inner strength. And from those connections, you not only learn a mindset, but also find opportunities for collaboration and true companionship. Simplification doesn't make you less, it makes you clearer. It doesn't make you poor, it makes you rich from within. Rich in energy, rich in time, rich in wisdom, and ultimately, rich in finances. Because when everything is neat, you can run far without getting tired. You can maneuver without getting confused. You can create without distraction, and you can grow without having to shout or rush. That is the destination of the rich. Doing little, but living abundantly. Not because they are better than anyone, but because they know how to cut back. And now you know it too. Simplification not only helps you save time and money, but also helps you realize the most valuable thing in life: freedom. Freedom is not about doing nothing, but about being able to do what you truly want with the people you truly value at the time you are truly ready. Rich people aim for this freedom, not just accumulating material possessions. And to get there, they accept overlooking short-term glitz,
noisy applause, meaningless races. They understand that the fastest runner is not necessarily the first to cross the finish line, but the one who runs the right path with light and persistent steps. If you feel your life is too cluttered, sit down and write down 3 things you are willing to let go of to gain peace. It could be a habit of thoughtless spending, a relationship that drains you, an expectation society has placed on you for years.
Letting go is not giving up. It's a wise decision of someone who wants to take control of their life. Rich people always start by letting go of the right things to make room for what's important. They don't keep everything, they keep what has long-term value, and that makes all the difference. Simplification also trains your ability to make better decisions. When you are not overwhelmed by too many choices, your mind is clearer, faster, and more confident. Rich people never let themselves stand at 10 crossroads without knowing which way to go. They design their lives to minimize distractions. They limit the number of choices. They create their own rules. For example, they set a fixed budget for each spending category. They limit the number of projects they pursue at once. They set clear criteria for collaborators. All to reduce decision fatigue, to save mental energy for what's truly important. One principle that rich people value very, very highly is that you cannot optimize something you don't measure. And to measure, you must first simplify. When you have too many cash flows but don't categorize them clearly, you won't know which one is generating profit and which one is draining. When you have too many unnamed expenses, you won't control how you're living. But when you start recording, categorizing, grouping, and streamlining your personal financial system, you will clearly see loopholes, clearly see opportunities, and from there you start to optimize. No need to try too hard. Just being clear is enough to get rich step by step. Simplification is also a statement of life. It's how you tell the world, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I just need to live true to my values. Truly rich people don't try to be liked by others. They focus on building sustainable value. They can be silent for months to perfect a product, optimize a process, or invest in a profit-generating system. And when they return, they astound others, not because they show off, but because their results speak for themselves. That is the beauty of simplification combined with discipline and a long-term mindset. If you're still struggling, feeling like you work endlessly but don't make progress, the problem might not be your ability but dispersion. Review how much time you spend each day on unproductive tasks. How many streams of information do you consume each week? How many goals are you pursuing at once? The answer will show you that it's time to streamline, do less, go deeper, and do higher quality work. Don't try to do more. Start by doing less. And from that reduction, you will find everything becoming clearer, lighter, faster, and richer. Rich people don't follow trends. They create trends. And to do that, they must have mental space, time for reflection, and a lean, efficient operating system. They are not stifled by the chaos of everyday life. They live simply not because they cannot afford a complex life, but because they know strength lies in simplifying everything and then making it run smoothly. And when you live in that simplicity long enough, you will understand that financial freedom doesn't come from how much you earn, but from how much you keep, both money, energy, time, and clarity, to live true to yourself. From the moment you choose to live simply, you will feel as if you've stepped out of a prolonged trance. A world where everyone is running, but no one knows why they're running. A society where success is equated with busyness, with big houses, luxury cars, designer brands, but rarely talks about clarity, lightness, or freedom of mind. And then you realize the more you chase, the more tired you become. The more you accumulate, the heavier you become. The more you carry, the more you lose yourself. But when you stop, Dare to reduce. Dare to clean up. You begin to see the light.
Have you ever felt that investing is scary? Too many risks. The market is constantly up and down. Today, profit. Tomorrow, loss. And sometimes you ask yourself, is there a way to invest without losing money? Most people enter the world of investing with an excited mindset. They hear others making money from stocks, real estate, crypto, and they think, I should start too. So they jump in, and then the market teaches them an expensive lesson. Some people lose 50 million VND after a month. Some people lose 300 million VND just by trusting a friend. Some people burn their accounts without understanding why. Why? Because most people only learn how to invest after they've lost money. But the rich are different. They don't invest based on news. They don't chase market waves. They don't invest just because they heard it was good. They have their own framework of thinking, principles that are almost immutable. And no matter what you see them getting rich from, stocks, land, startups, or crypto, behind that success is always a system of risk-free investment thinking. I call it the 9 rules of investing that the rich always keep secret. Not a magic trick, not a quick wealth-building tip, but silent principles that only those who have survived the market truly understand and apply. And today, I will share with you each rule through real-life experience, deep thinking, and how to apply it for yourself. But first, one thing you need to remember. There is no risk-free investment. Only investors who know how to control risk. If you are still hoping for an investment channel that guarantees 100% profit and never loses, sorry, this video is not for you. But if you want to know how to keep your money, grow it sustainably, and control yourself in all market conditions, then you are in the right place. This video is for those who have invested and lost money, those who are about to invest but fear risk, and also those who have not started yet but want to enter the market with a clear head. You don't need to be a financial genius. You don't need to know advanced technical analysis. You don't need to make quick, big wins. You just need to not lose like 95% of others out there. You just need to keep your money, multiply your assets, and survive crises. You can absolutely do it if you firmly grasp these 9 rules. Rule number 1 is the foundation of all. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, but also don't hold 10 baskets at once. Sounds familiar, right? Everyone has heard this saying, but very few truly understand and apply it correctly.
Spreading money to many places and that's it. No, that's not enough. I once knew a friend named Long. He spread his money into 5 areas: stocks, crypto, real estate, startups, and a lending project. It sounds very professional, a diversified portfolio. But the problem was that he didn't deeply understand any of the fields. He had no clear strategy, didn't closely monitor the market, and when the market fluctuated, he got crushed in all 5 areas simultaneously. Why? Because he was holding 5 baskets, but all of them were leaking eggs. Conversely, another investor, Miss Huang, focused on only 2 areas: consumer sector stocks and residential real estate. But she researched extremely thoroughly. She monitored financial reports every quarter. She met directly with local brokers. She had clear buy, hold, and exit plans. As a result, her portfolio tripled in value in 4 years, without big waves or storms, just steady, sustainable, and certain growth. So what is the lesson here? 1. Don't put all your money in one single place. No matter how much you trust it, there's always a probability of error. 2. But also don't take on too many things, because then you can't control them, you don't understand them all, and in the end, you still lose. 3. Only invest in what you understand.
Or if you don't yet, learn very quickly or find a professional partner. The rich understand that diversification is not about scattering money haphazardly, but about focusing on the baskets of eggs they truly understand and holding them tightly with both hands. In the next part, I will share rule number 2, a very counterintuitive mindset. Always keep cash when others are greedy. It sounds slow, but this is precisely why the rich survive every crisis and are ready to win big when others lose everything. You don't want to miss it.
And the first one to sell off is the one who has no cash left. Look back at 2021 when the global financial market was booming. Crypto soared, stocks hit record highs, real estate prices went up weekly. Everyone rushed to invest. But then 2022 came, the market crashed, crypto plummeted, stocks fell 40%, real estate liquidity froze, and at that point, whoever had cash was king. The rich don't rush in when the market is euphoric. They wait, and when everyone is running away, they buy cheaply. Warren Buffett said it, "Be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy." This saying is not just for fun, it is a guiding principle in all periods of volatility. I once met a student who made 300 million VND from stocks in 2021. Towards the end of the year, seeing the market still rising, he took both his capital and profit, over 600 million VND, and poured it all into penny stocks. Why? Because it felt like it would multiply by 2x, 3x again. Early 2022, the market crashed. His account evaporated by 70% in just 2 months. And the most heartbreaking part was that he had no cash left to manage, no chance to recover. The rich are not like that. They always keep a portion of cash, no matter how euphoric the market is. Not to sit and watch, but to maintain control. So what should you do?
1. Always have at least 20-30% of your portfolio in cash or highly liquid assets. 2. When the market rises sharply, don't expand your portfolio. Consolidate and observe. 3. When people say it's a golden time, be suspicious first. Cash doesn't die. Cash is survival. Cash is future opportunity. Cash is the ultimate weapon in a crisis. The rich hold cash not because they are afraid, but because they know that no one wins every investment game. A smart investor always prepares for the worst, even when things are at their best. You cannot control the market, but you can control your financial behavior. In the next part, I will share rule number 3, a core mindset to protect you from the most painful losses. Never invest without an exit plan. A rule that sounds simple, but is the clear distinction between serious investors and those who gamble with their own money. Wait for it, the next part will give you a completely new perspective. Rule number 3, never invest without an exit plan. One of the most painful mistakes new investors make is entering the market with hope but no retreat plan. They only think about buying but never about exiting. They put money down because they see prices rising, because emotions are high, because it feels like an opportunity not to be missed.
But they don't know what percentage they should sell at. How far down should they cut losses? What if the market moves sideways for 6 months? The rich are different. They don't invest and then improvise. They plan their exit before putting money down. That exit plan is clear, specific, with limits and principles. For example, I invest in stock A with an expectation of a 25% increase in 6 months. If after 2 months it hasn't increased, I will reevaluate. If it falls by 10%, I cut losses immediately. If it increases by more than 20% in 3 months, I will withdraw part of the profit and let the rest run. That is the plan, and I don't let emotions interfere when the time comes. Not having an exit plan is like driving a car without brakes. You rush forward at high speed and then just hope you don't crash. I once witnessed a friend invest in a crypto coin whose price tripled in 10 days.
but because he had no exit plan, he kept holding. The price continued to rise, then reversed. In just 1 week, his account returned to the starting line, and in just another week, it was down 40%. He didn't take profits, he didn't dare to cut losses, simply because he didn't know where the stopping point was. The rich don't invest based on hope, they invest according to scenarios. If A happens, what do I do? If B happens, what do I do? There's no, let's see how the market is and then decide. The correct mindset isn't that being a good investor means you'll win, but rather knowing when to withdraw is what makes you a winner. You might miss a few percentage points of profit by withdrawing early, but you won't lose everything. You might sell when the price hasn't reached its peak, but you'll still have money to invest further. You don't need to ride the entire wave, you just need to ride the best part and then withdraw safely. So how can you apply this rule? First, before buying any asset, write down your goal. How much profit percentage and how long? Second, set your stop-loss level in advance. Don't let emotions at that moment decide. Write the number down on paper and respect it. Third, review your plan every week to ensure you're still on track. The market changes, so you also need to update your exit plan accordingly. The rich don't gamble. They plan for all scenarios in advance, and that's why they are never surprised. They might not be the fastest investors to profit, but they are the ones who retain profit the longest. Investing isn't about being good at predicting the market, it's about being good at managing your own behavior, and an exit plan is the tool that helps you do that. In the next part,
I will share rule number 4. Something seemingly invisible, but which determines 80% of an investor's success. Don't make decisions when you are fearful or greedy. This is the part many people can't control, and it's also the reason they lose everything they just earned. Rule number 4. Don't make decisions when you are fearful or greedy. Emotions are an investor's biggest enemy, and also the biggest reason people lose money faster than any other factor. You might have a good strategy, you might have researched carefully, but if you act when your mind is not clear, everything can collapse after just one wrong decision. Greed and fear are the two most powerful emotional states, and ironically, they appear constantly in investing. When you see a stock price rise 10% in just 2 days, you feel excited and want to buy more, right? Because you're afraid of missing out on the opportunity. When you see the market turn red, everyone's selling off, what do you feel? Panic, worry, and a desire to withdraw at all costs, even if you're taking heavy losses. But the rich are not like that. They don't act when they are angry, panicked, or excited. They have a golden rule. The stronger the emotion, the less you should make a decision. They stop, they observe, they give themselves time.
they act after everything is clear. After everything is clear. I once knew a friend who invested 200 million VND in stocks. When the market corrected, his account dropped 15%. He panicked and couldn't sleep. The next morning, he sold everything off. Just 2 weeks later, the stock recovered by 20%, and he was no longer in the game. Not because the market was wrong, but because he made a decision when he was afraid. Similarly, with greed, another woman invested in crypto. When the price doubled, she made a big profit. But instead of withdrawing, she continued to buy more, thinking the price would go up further. Then the market reversed, and in just 24 hours, her account evaporated by 60%. The rich don't let emotions guide them. They let principles guide them. So how can you do this? First, create a decision-making process. For example, when you see a loss of more than 10%, stop for a day. Don't act hastily. When you see a large profit, withdraw profits in parts. Don't go all in again. When there is shocking news, don't react immediately. Wait for the market to react, then reevaluate. Second, record your emotions. How do you feel before buying? How do you feel after selling? Writing it down will help you reflect on yourself and avoid repeating mistakes. Third, create distance. Don't open the investment app every 10 minutes. Don't read financial news when you are stressed. Separate yourself from the market for a bit to keep a cool head. The rich know that winning or losing doesn't lie in the market. It lies in your emotional state when you make a decision. The calmer you are, the more advantage you have. The more impulsive you are, the more likely you are to lose money. So from today, remember, emotion is the enemy. Discipline is your best friend. When the market is chaotic, the clear-headed person is the one who wins. In the next part, I will share rule number 5, the key secret that helps the rich never invest blindly, never put money into something they don't understand. Sounds simple, but this is where 90% of new investors stumble at the very first step. Don't miss it. Rule number 5, never put money into something you don't understand. This is a rule that seems like everyone knows, but in reality, very few actually follow it. You might hear people say, invest here, it's a sure thing. This project is about to double, about to go public. My friend invested $100 million and now has $300 million. After hearing that, you feel attracted. So you withdraw money, transfer it, and participate without truly knowing what you are investing in. That's how new people lose money.
They don't analyze. They don't research the operating model. They don't know where the cash flow comes from. They don't understand the biggest risks. They just listen to others and follow. The rich are not like that. They never invest in something they don't understand. They might miss many opportunities, but they only put money down when they grasp every aspect clearly. One time, I was invited to participate in a technology startup project. The model looked interesting, the profits sounded very attractive, but when I asked specifically about customers, cash flow, operating costs, the founder answered vaguely. I refused. A few months later, that project collapsed. My friends who invested in it lost everything. Not because they were unlucky, but because they put money into something they didn't understand. The rich's mindset is very clear. If I cannot explain clearly in 60 seconds how it makes money, I will not invest. You can be smart. You can have money. But if you don't understand what you are investing in, you are playing a game where you don't know the rules. And in every game, those who don't know the rules always lose. So how do you truly understand an investment? Ask. 1. What is the money-making model? 2. Who are the buyers? Who are the sellers? 3. What is the biggest risk?
4. If the worst-case scenario happens, can I exit? 5. What advantage do I have here? Understand the relationship of data. If you cannot answer 80% of these questions, stop. Don't think you will profit just because you see others profiting. You don't see how many months they spent learning, trying, and stumbling. The rich don't invest with the crowd. They only invest where they have true understanding. Instead of scattering your money, choose an area you love. You understand it deeply, you have an advantage. Learn thoroughly, and then invest strategically. The correct mindset isn't where there's an opportunity, I follow. The correct mindset is I create opportunities from where I understand best. Remember, no investment is easy money. There is only investment where you have deep understanding, good control, and careful risk management. In the next part, I will share rule number 6, something that sounds counterintuitive, knowing how to say no to attractive opportunities you don't understand. Because sometimes not participating is the smartest move. Let's continue. Rule number 6, knowing how to say no to attractive opportunities you don't understand. Opportunities are always everywhere. Every day someone invites you to invest. Every day someone says, this is about to explode, about to go public, don't miss out. And you find yourself drawn in, not because you need money, not because you understand the project, but just because you are afraid of missing out. That's called FOMO, fear of missing out. And this is one of the most sophisticated traps in investing. The rich don't FOMO. They are not attracted by things that sound too good to be true at first listen. They don't invest because of invitations. They only put money down when they understand and have an advantage. You know, some opportunities look very attractive. Promised returns of 15% per month. Just contribute capital, no need to do anything. The project is backed by famous Mr. A or Miss B. But if you don't understand the operating model, can't control the risks, and aren't clear who is holding the cash flow, then you should say no. I once lost nearly 100 million VND in a lending project just because a close friend invited me to invest. He said, my friends and I have all put money in. I didn't ask anything further. I didn't read documents. I didn't analyze. I just didn't want to be the only one left out. 3 months later, the website disappeared. No one recovered their money. My friend also lost everything. The rich have the courage to refuse. They have the ability to stand firm against the crowd.
The voice of an older person is experienced and warm. They know that an opportunity everyone finds attractive is often no longer an opportunity. So what do you need to do? 1, ask yourself, do I really understand this thing? If the answer is not quite clear, stop. 2, ask yourself, if I lose 100% of this investment, can I accept it? If the answer is no, don't participate. 3, ask yourself, why am I investing? If the reason is fear of missing out, you are investing based on emotion, not reason. The correct mindset is, I don't invest to race with others. I invest to maintain my financial stability. You might see people making money fast. You might feel like you're falling behind. But don't forget, slow and steady always beats fast and falling. The rich are not greedy. They are clear-headed. They might pass on 100 opportunities to choose the right one that is safe and effective. Investing is not a competition to see who jumps in first, but a game to see who survives longest. And sometimes surviving until the end is precisely the one who knows when to say no. In the next part, I will share rule number 7, an extremely important factor that the rich always adhere to: patience, to wait for the right moment, not always having to invest money. This is a mindset contrary to the majority, but it is the reason they last long.
Wait for me in the next part. Rule number 7, patience to wait for the right moment, not always having to invest money. This is an extremely important rule, but often overlooked by many. Because in today's society, everyone wants to get rich quickly, escape poverty quickly, acquire assets quickly. And so people rush into investing whenever they have money. If they have money, they feel they must do something. If they don't, they feel uneasy. They feel like they are missing out. They feel like idle money is dead money. You know what? No. The rich don't invest every day. They don't invest continuously. They don't view investing as a game to be played weekly. They only invest when conditions converge. They only act when the time is right. If it's not right, they sit still. I have a friend who is a seasoned investor in the real estate industry. He once shared, there were years when I didn't buy anything. I just surveyed, read news, monitored land prices, I waited, and when the market corrected sharply, I had cash ready and I put money down immediately. As a result, he doubled his profit in 2 years, without fuss, without haste, simply with patience. The rich understand one thing: opportunities never run out. Only patience is something few people still possess. Conversely, new people are very impatient. As soon as they save a little money, they rush to find an opportunity to invest. They see the market turn green for a few sessions and think, now is the time. And that's how they hit the peak, followed by days of worry, stress, being stuck at the peak, and then withdrawing in panic. So the rule here is doing nothing is sometimes the most correct action. You don't always need to be in an investment state. Sometimes you should learn. Sometimes you should observe. Sometimes you should sit still, hold cash, and mentally prepare. Another example. In 2020, when COVID-19 erupted, the stock market plummeted. Many people ran away, but some had been waiting for that exact moment for months. They had cash, they had analyzed in advance, and they invested when everyone else was selling off. After only 1 year, their accounts doubled or tripled, not because they were lucky, but because they were patient enough to wait for the right time. So how can you apply this? 1. Don't think that having money means you must invest immediately. Wait until there is a truly clear opportunity. 2. Practice observing the market instead of reacting. Train yourself to be calm. 3. Understand that inaction is also action. The correct mindset is, I invest because there is a clear opportunity, not because I have idle money.
Learn to sit on your hands. Don't click. Don't open the app. Don't be tempted by the crowd's urgency. And you know what? The rich are precisely those who know how to wait. Wait when others lose patience. Wait when the market gives clear signals. Wait when the gap between value and price is largest. And at that moment, they step in quickly, decisively, and they win. In the next part, I will share rule number 8, the mindset that helps the rich. Never drown in financial crises. Always have a plan B and an emergency fund. This is the safety net that the rich always prepare carefully, while new investors often forget. Wait for me. Rule number 8. Always have a plan B and an emergency fund. One of the reasons many people lose everything when the market reverses is not because they invested wrongly, but because they didn't prepare for the worst-case scenario. They had no contingency plan, no fallback. They thought the market was good and would surely keep going up. And then when a crisis hit, they were swept away like a leaf in the current. The rich are different. They know that investing is not a game of guessing what will happen, but a game of preparation for all scenarios. I once asked a long-time financial advisor, "Are you afraid when the market goes down?" He smiled and replied,
No, because I prepared for that last year. That is the courage, the thing that new people often lack, because they only think of the beautiful scenario. You can be an extremely smart investor. You can be a skilled technical analysis. You can choose the right industry at the right time. But if you don't have a plan B, you can still lose everything due to an unexpected event. Look back at the COVID-19 pandemic. How many people lost their jobs? How many businesses went bankrupt? How many investors had to sell off assets due to lack of cash? Not because they were weak, but because they had no survival reserves. The rich always have a plan like this. If the market drops 20%, what do I do? If this investment is down 50%, how do I react? If I lose all my profits but still have my capital, should I withdraw? If there is an unexpected financial crisis, do I have enough cash to cope? They are not pessimistic. They are just realistic. And they know nothing is certain in investing. So what should you do? 1. Establish an emergency fund equivalent to at least 6 months of living expenses, separate from investment money. 2. Do not invest all the money you have. Always leave 20 to 30% as survival capital. 3. Practice creating a plan B for each investment. Write down the worst-case scenario and the accompanying solution. For example, if you invest 200 million VND in stocks, determine if a 30% drop in the stock would affect your personal finances. Would you need to withdraw in panic? Do you have an alternative plan? If the answer is not quite clear, it means you don't have a plan B yet. One of the things that makes the rich go the long way is that they never let themselves be cornered. They always have an escape route, always have alternative plans ready, always have a chance to recover even when the market turns against them. New investors are often very confident when the market is rising, but only those with a plan B survive when the market falls. The correct mindset is, I don't expect everything to go smoothly. I prepare for the worst so I don't collapse. And this is not just an investment principle, but also a life principle for those who go the long haul. In the final part, I will share with you rule number 9, the silent mindset that helps the rich accumulate wealth without interruption over time, reinvesting profits to keep money working even when you are resting. This is how they get rich quietly, which others don't understand why. See you in the next part. Rule number 9, reinvest profits to keep money working even when you are resting.
Do you know what the difference is between someone who holds money and someone who makes money grow? It's that the one who holds money stops when there's a profit. But the rich, they use that very profit to create more money. They don't spend the profit immediately. They don't use it to celebrate or show off. They take the profit and reinvest it. What is reinvestment? It's using the profit from old investments to continue generating new cash flow. It's letting money work continuously, not lying idle in an account. It's building a self-operating asset system that grows bigger and bigger without needing additional external capital. New people often tend to withdraw 50 million VND in profit to buy a phone or 100 million VND in profit to travel. They spend the profit as soon as they make it. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone has the right to enjoy. But if you spend all the seeds, you won't have fruit trees in the future. The rich are different. They keep most of the profits. They use it to reinvest in the same system or transfer it to a higher performing channel. They let money continue to generate money even when they are resting, traveling, or sleeping. The correct mindset is, money should not stop working just because you've achieved a little result. Try to imagine you invest 100 million VND and earn 20 million VND in profit each year.
If you spend all that profit, next year you still invest with 100 million Vietnam Dong. But if you keep and reinvest it, next year you start with 120 million Vietnam Dong. The following year, another 24 million, and then another 28.8 million Vietnam Dong, and so on. Compounding interest creates a miraculous compounding effect. Albert Einstein once said, "Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it." The rich don't need to increase their income every year. They just need their asset system to constantly circulate and multiply. So what should you do? 1. When you have profit, allocate at least 50 to 70% for reinvestment. 2. Only use a small portion for enjoyment, rewarding yourself, but don't spend it all. 3. Find suitable investment channels to continue circulating capital, stocks, bonds, real estate, or your own business. Reinvestment doesn't necessarily have to be in the same old channel. What's important is that you maintain the speed of capital turnover so that money always flows, never freezes. The richest mindset is very clear. I don't need to continuously increase my income. I need to increase the profitability of the capital I already have. You don't need a lot of capital to start, but you need a disciplined mindset to retain profits.
And multiply them. This consistent reinvestment will help you achieve financial freedom sooner than those who keep starting and stopping, then starting again. And the best thing is that when you follow these rules correctly for 5 to 10 years, your assets will quietly and sustainably expand without you having to work hard your entire life. You don't need to be better than anyone. You just need to do one simple thing, repeatedly, and not break the chain. That's how the rich get richer silently. So we have gone through the 9 rules of risk-free investment. These are the principles that the rich always keep secret, and only those who are clear-headed enough, disciplined enough, and patient enough will reach the end of the sustainable financial path. But there's still one last thing, the conclusion, where I want to summarize all the mindsets and send you my most sincere message. Wait for me at the end. So you and I, we have gone through the long journey of the 9 rules of risk-free investment that the rich always keep secret. There are no shortcuts, no tricks, no quick wealth-building secrets. Only practical thinking, financial discipline, and a long-term survival strategy. These 9 rules may sound simple, but applying them is a whole journey. 1. Don't embrace everything, but choose wisely. 2. Always keep cash when others are greedy. 3. Never invest without an exit plan. 4. Don't make decisions when in an emotional state. 5. Don't put money into something you don't understand. 6. Dare to say no to attractive opportunities. 7. Be patient like water eroding stone. 8. Always have a plan B to survive. 9. And keep your money generating money even when you are resting. Some people will listen and dismiss it. Some will say, I know, enough already. But there will be some, and that's you, who truly ponder it. And I hope you are that person. You know, investing is a long, very long journey. It's not for the impatient, the hasty, who only expect results in 3 months. It's for those who know how to wait, how to analyze, how to protect capital, and most importantly, how to control themselves in chaos. You might lose on a few investments, but you must not lose yourself. You might make mistakes a few times, but you must not abandon the correct mindset. Remember this, in investing, the winner is not the smartest person, but the person who survives the longest. Let money serve you. Don't let yourself become an emotional slave to money. And if you are truly serious about your financial path, review these 9 rules every month. Write them down. Stick them on your desk. Remind yourself whenever you intend to invest in something, because what kills investors is not a lack of knowledge, but forgetting simple principles. If you found this video helpful, don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, and share it with friends who are struggling on their investment journey, because you never know. A loved one might escape financial mistakes just by listening to these 15 minutes. And if you truly want to go the long haul, subscribe to the AHI TV channel now. Because here, I don't just share knowledge, I share mindset, perspective, and the mistakes I've paid for so you don't have to make them again from scratch. Leave a comment. I choose smart investing starting today. Just one line, but it's your first commitment to yourself. I believe you don't need to get rich overnight. You just need to go in the right direction, and each step will bring you closer to financial freedom, stability, and the life you deserve. See you in the next video, where I will share 7 silent habits that gradually make you poorer and how to eliminate them before it's too late. Remember, risk-free investing is when you know what you are doing and you are starting from here. Fade out, logo AHI TV appears. Final text, slow and steady is better than fast and losing.
Have you ever tried to tighten your belt? I used to have months when I only dared to eat instant noodles, walked 5 kilometers instead of taking a bus. I worked 2 jobs at the same time, waking up at 5 a.m. and working until 10 p.m. But at the end of the month, I still couldn't save 2 million VND to send home to my mother. It wasn't because I was lazy, but because I didn't know. Didn't know what? I didn't know the 9 things that rich people would die rather than give up. These 9 things silently create an invisible gap between those who struggle with their salary and those who gradually achieve financial freedom. Are you stuck between those 2 worlds? There's a painful truth I want you to hear clearly today. Hard work won't save you from poverty. Knowing your mistakes and correcting them will save you. And poverty often doesn't come from circumstances, but from your unwillingness to update your mindset software. I used to think that if I just worked hard, my boss would notice. The company would give me a raise. I used to think saving was the only way to have money. I used to think buying a house was an asset and a motorbike was an asset. I used to think I needed money first before thinking about investing. And then I realized I was wrong, completely wrong. Now, if you're watching this video from a 15 square meter rented room, from an old phone, or a small coffee shop down the street, I want to tell you this. You are not lazy. You are just lacking perspective. And today, I want to take you through each of the 9 things that keep people poor, even when they never quit, never complain, and always try hard. Don't give up. Don't turn off this video early. Because every minute you continue watching is a step you take out of the invisible poverty trap society has set for you.
Imagine this. There are 2 friends who went to the same class and graduated at the same time. One chose to work in an office, diligent, punctual, and frugal. The other chose to sell online, make small investments, and learn financial skills. 5 years later, one is struggling to pay off bank debts, while the other owns a small team and has monthly cash flow from multiple sources. Where does the difference lie? Not in luck, not in family background, but in awareness. And you can be like that too, but only if you know these 9 things. Before we dive into the first part, I want you to pause for a few seconds. Comment right below the video, "I am ready to escape poverty," as a commitment to yourself. Because after this video, if you still cling to your old way of thinking, no one can save you. Let's begin. There is one thing that rich people understand inside out, while poor people disregard it every day. Time is not money, not capital, not connections, but time. And the paradox is that the less money people have, the more they tend to trade time for money. Have you ever worked a job paid by the hour? 25,000 VND, 30,000 VND, or at most 50,000 VND an hour? You spend 8 hours a day selling your labor in exchange for a few 100,000 VND. But have you ever asked, can I use this time to create greater value? Rich people are different. They don't sell time, they invest time. And they do everything to free up their time by hiring people, automating, or building systems. Look closely. Rich people don't stand in line for half an hour for a 10,000 VND discount. They don't drive around for 30 minutes just to find cheaper parking. They don't spend 2 hours chatting every evening just to kill time. Because they understand that 1 hour of their time is worth millions, even tens of millions of VND.
Poor people, however, are often stuck in the loop of waking up, going to work, coming home tired, sleeping, and repeating. No time to think, no time for self-development. And that's what keeps them from escaping poverty. There's a saying, if you don't value your time, others will do it for you, and they will value it very low. That's right, and most of us are giving away our time for free to social media, to meaningless conversations, to things that bring no long-term value. I wasted 3 years just making a living, not learning, not investing in skills, not developing at all.
I used to say, I don't have time to study, brother. But rich people say, I don't have time not to study. Different mindsets, different results. Now, try to think about your day. How much time do you spend learning new things? How many minutes do you spend planning your finances? How many hours do you spend honing skills that bring higher income? If that number is almost zero, then you know why you're still stuck in the same place. So what do smart people do? They use their free time to learn how to invest. They spend 30 minutes every day reading books, listening to podcasts, learning how to manage money. They plan their week by prioritizing time, not living by habit. And most importantly, they know when to stop doing things that don't create value. You might think, but I'm too busy. I don't have time. The answer is you're not busy. You're just prioritizing incorrectly. Because if earning more income, financial freedom, or changing your life is truly important to you, you will find the time. I have a friend who worked 12 hours a day and still studied online for an hour every night. After 9 months, he started getting freelance jobs, then quit his full-time job, tripling his income, because he understood that every hour that passes is an opportunity. You either use it to move forward or you let it slip away forever. If you're wasting time on meaningless things, remember you can't get time back, but you can start using it differently from today. Don't just work for money. Use time to create a money-making system. Don't spend all day working for others. Spend a small part of each day learning how to be your own boss. If this resonates with you, comment below. I will value my time from today to remind yourself every day not to live wastefully anymore. And now, are you ready to move on to the second thing? The thing that causes many highly skilled and proficient people to remain poor, unable to get ahead? The second thing sounds profound, but in reality, it's the silent reason why millions of poor people remain stuck. Not knowing how to multiply income. Poor people often have a single source of income, and when that source runs into problems, job loss, illness, economic crisis, they collapse. Rich people, on the other hand, never put all their eggs in one basket. They build multiple income streams, and each stream is nurtured by their own wisdom and knowledge. I once knew a skilled software engineer with a high income who still struggled because his expenses always caught up with his salary. Until one day, his contract was cut and everything fell apart with just one email. And that's when he realized that high income doesn't mean financial stability if you only have one source of income. The question is, how do you multiply income? Poor people will immediately think, I don't have capital, I don't have skills, I don't have time. But rich people are different. They don't start with what they have, they start with what's possible. For example, a coffee seller who only sells at their shop has one source of income. But if they know how to expand by selling online, accepting agents, teaching how to brew, creating TikTok content about coffee, those are 4 or 5 other income streams from the exact same skill. You have a primary profession? Think about how you can break it down and earn more in many ways. Turn knowledge into courses, create ebooks, open a YouTube channel to share knowledge, do affiliate marketing for tools you use, or simply offer freelance services online. Successful people aren't better than you because they have more. They just think more broadly. They know that every skill, every resource, every experience can be multiplied into new income streams as long as you're willing to think differently. I have a friend in my community who started out as a phone repair technician, but he recorded difficult repair cases and shared them on Facebook and TikTok. His viewership grew. He accepted students to teach the trade, then sold repair tools, then opened a channel to share business experience. One profession, 6 income sources, and from then on, his finances were more stable than ever. But to do that, you have to overcome a very big fear. What if I fail? What if no one watches?
What if I'm bad? Rich people know very well that if you don't multiply income, you will always be dependent. And dependence is the shortest path to instability. You don't need to quit your job to multiply income. Just spend 1 or 2 hours a week investing in something that can grow long-term. Build a personal channel. Build an online sales system. Learn skills that can be sold outside of working hours. And you don't need to be an expert. You just need to start. People don't need you to be the best. They just need you to help them solve a specific problem. If you can do that, you will have income. I'm telling you honestly, if you work 8 hours a day and don't have a second income stream quietly growing, then in 10 years, you'll still have to work. And if you get sick, that income stream gets sick too. But if you start today, learn, try, make mistakes, and gain experience, then in just a few years, you can work less but double your income. Spend time with family without being dependent on anyone. So, the question is, are you multiplying your income, or are you still limiting your life to a single income source? Comment below. I am building a second income stream if you've started this journey. Or, I commit to starting if today is your first day. And now the third thing, which many people misunderstand. They think they are buying assets, but they're actually accumulating liabilities every day without knowing it. The third thing seems simple, but is actually one of the hidden reasons why millions of people remain poor, not distinguishing between assets and liabilities. Have you ever heard this saying, buying a house is an asset, buying a car is an investment, a new phone is a tool for earning money? Sounds reasonable, but what's the reality? Poor people mostly spend money on liabilities thinking they are assets. They buy a huge house but take out a 20-year mortgage. They buy a luxury car to show off but don't have enough money for gas 6 months later. They upgrade their phone for 25 million VND and laptop for 30 million VND just to scroll TikTok and watch movies. What about rich people? They might rent a house for 5 years and drive an old car, but they use that money to buy stocks, invest in production, expand systems, or build a personal brand. Because for them, an asset is something that brings in money, not something that just gives a feeling of ownership. Remember this definition. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. It's that simple. A 4 billion VND house that isn't rented out and doesn't generate profit is a liability. A luxury car that costs 5 to 10 million VND per month for gas and maintenance is a liability. A 30 million VND phone that doesn't generate income is also a liability. Conversely, a YouTube channel you invest 3 months to build can be an asset for 3 to 5 years. A skill course that helps you increase your income by 30% is an asset. A sales website that generates steady orders every day is an asset. You see, assets are sometimes not about physical possessions, but about the ability to generate long-term profit. I once knew a woman who earned 8 million VND a month, but always prioritized looking good, fashionable, and trendy. Her clothes were all branded, her phone was always the latest model, she had to check in when she went to cafes. But when her child got sick, she didn't have enough money to take them to a good clinic. When the company downsized, she didn't even have enough for 2 months of survival. Why? Because all her salary went into liabilities. On the other hand, a friend with the same 8 million VND salary allocated 3 million VND each month to learn more and invest in a fan page for small ad campaigns. After 1 year, he did additional freelance content. After 2 years, his income tripled because he invested in things that would generate money. I'm not saying you shouldn't live comfortably or buy things you like. I'm just saying understand what you're spending your money on. If you buy something because it's beautiful, okay, it's a liability. But if you buy it because it helps you earn money or expand your capabilities, it's an asset. And you don't need to be a millionaire to invest in assets. Anyone can buy a domain name to create an e-commerce website, learn video editing to create content themselves, or invest in books, courses, and life skills. Rich people understand this very well. Assets are not something to show off. Assets are things that quietly work for you while you sleep. And when you have enough assets, you get to choose how you live, instead of life choosing for you. Now look at your wallet, your house, your online shopping cart. Are you accumulating assets or indulging in beautiful liabilities? Comment honestly. I am accumulating assets if you understand and are determined to change from today. And next is something poor people often overlook because they don't see it as urgent, but precisely because they overlook it, they can never rise up. Investing in oneself correctly. The fourth thing, when heard, everyone nods and says they know it. But the truth is, very few people truly do it correctly. They don't invest in themselves in the right way. Poor people often think, I've already studied for 12 years, went to university for 4 years. What else is there to learn? They stop. They assume learning is something for their school days. And so life after that is just about working, eating, sleeping, waiting for a raise, waiting for a job change. What about rich people? They invest in themselves as a sustainable income-generating asset. They don't begrudge money for an advanced skill course. They don't begrudge time reading books every morning. They don't begrudge effort practicing their speaking, writing, presentation, analysis, and decision-making abilities. But most importantly, they know how to invest in the right things, not buying a course just because the ad is too good, not spending 10 million VND to learn how to get rich quickly and then applying nothing. Rich people invest strategically. They learn that they will use immediately. They learn what helps them earn money indirectly or directly. They learn what can be replicated into a system. I've seen many poor people spend money learning how to get rich, but not learning marketing skills or financial management. They go to motivational seminars, but don't know how to build a personal brand. The result is that it sounds good, but they can't apply anything when they get home. Correct investment is like this. If you do content, learn how to write conversions and build engaging scripts. If you do business, learn how to run ads, close deals, and retain customers. If you work in an office, learn time management, communication, and data analysis. If you haven't done anything yet, learn how to self-learn, build discipline, and train your financial mindset. And you don't need millions to invest. A 100,000 VND book can change your mindset for a lifetime. A 300,000 VND course on platforms like Udemy or Coursera can help you earn 3 million VND per month. A free video can also open up a completely new direction if you know how to select and apply. But poor people do the opposite. They spend 1 million VND on a party, but begrudge 300,000 VND for a 2-week course. They spend 3 hours watching movies, but begrudge 30 minutes learning a new skill. They don't see immediate benefits, so they skip it. And then they're stuck in the cycle of, I don't have money to learn, but I also don't have money because I don't learn. Rich people always ask, what can I apply after learning this? What is its lifetime value? And when they see the benefits outweigh the costs, they invest immediately without hesitation. Because they understand that the mind is the most powerful income-generating asset. You can have your assets stolen, but no one can steal your skills and mindset. And when you possess a strong enough skill, you can start over anywhere, in any circumstance. I once had a friend who only finished high school, didn't go to university, but he spent 2 years learning English, communication skills, sales, and marketing, all online. After 2 years, he opened a YouTube channel specializing in teaching English beginners. Now his income is 5 times that of his peers, and it all started from investing in himself correctly. So if you're hesitant about whether to buy this course, ask yourself, does it help me earn money? Does it broaden my perspective? Does it help me escape my current cycle? If yes, invest, because rich people invest to generate profit, while poor people spend money for entertainment. If you are truly serious about changing, comment below, I will invest in myself from today as a clear commitment. And now, let's move on to the fifth thing, where many people shoot themselves in the foot without even realizing it. Not controlling emotions related to money. The fifth thing seems internal, but has an extremely big impact on external finances. Not controlling emotions related to money. Have you ever found yourself in this situation? Just got paid, went out for a fancy meal, bought a few things to reward yourself, then at the end of the month, struggling to make ends meet. You tell yourself you need to save more next month, but the next month it's the exact same story. That's not because you don't have money, it's because you're letting emotions guide your finances. Poor people often use money to relieve emotions. They buy unnecessary things just because they feel stressed. They spend money to gain recognition, to look like successful people. They borrow money to travel and buy luxury items, then return to ever-increasing financial pressure. And every time they're short on money, they blame circumstances or low income, instead of looking at how they spend money when emotions speak. What about rich people? They clearly separate emotions from financial decisions. They don't spend because they feel like it, but because it's effective. They don't let themselves make impulsive purchases. They have a plan and they are disciplined with that plan. There's a principle rich people always apply. Money must come before emotion. This means setting a budget, automatically deducting money for investment and savings at the beginning of the month, and only then spending the rest freely. Poor people do the opposite. They spend freely first, then figure things out later. I once had a period of intense financial pressure, but every time I received income, I felt I deserved a little something. That little something was bubble tea, clothes, dining out, discount shopping. Then I'd be broke again, stressed again, and spend again to relieve the stress. It was a vicious cycle of emotion, spending, regret, and repetition. And then I learned a very important lesson from my mentor. If you can't control your emotions with money, don't expect to control your finances. True, because money isn't just numbers. Money reflects choices, and choices reflect emotions. How do rich people train their emotions? They keep a spending journal. They stop shopping immediately when they feel like stress spending. They take time to think before buying anything over 1 million VND. They learn to confront emotions with action instead of spending money. And most importantly, they don't use money to heal emotions. They use action, goals, and self-development to heal. What about you? When you're tired, what do? When you're stressed, how do you relieve it? When you see someone showing off their house or car, do you immediately want something similar so you don't feel inferior? If so, don't blame yourself, because you're not alone. Many people are like that too, but you have to start changing right from today. Learn to pause for 5 minutes before every financial decision. Write down your emotions before buying anything big. Ask yourself if you're buying out of need or emotion.
And if you're feeling heavy hearing this part, congratulations, you've touched exactly what you need to change. Comment below, I will master my emotions with money, if you are truly ready to step out of the cycle of emotional spending. And now we move on to the sixth thing, something 90% of ordinary people lack. But every successful person has clear and specific, not setting clear financial goals. The sixth thing is the reason why many people struggle with money their entire lives without knowing where they're going, not setting clear financial goals. Poor people often say, just enough to live is fine. Just enough to pay off debts is okay. Just not lacking is good. But you know what? Enough to live is not a goal. It's an existence. And those who merely exist never progress. Rich people, even before they were rich, were always clear. How much money do I need for financial freedom? What number do I want to reach in the next year? Where will I generate income from? What skills do I need to achieve that? They set specific, measurable, time-bound goals. They don't just say, I want to be rich, but they say, I want to accumulate 1 billion VND in income in the next 3 years by creating 3 passive income streams, each generating 10 million VND per month.
Do you see the difference? Poor people think vaguely. Rich people act based on a plan. Try asking yourself, how much money do you want to achieve this year? Do you know your average monthly expenses? Do you have a specific plan to increase your income yet? If the answer is not clear, haven't calculated, don't know, then you are walking in a financial fog. And when you don't have a clear destination, any path will lead you in circles. Successful people usually do 3 things. 1. Write down specific financial goals, numbers, time. 2. Break down goals into clear milestones. 3. Reevaluate goals monthly to adjust the plan.
I used to be very vague with money, always thinking I wasn't enough, not knowing when I'd have surplus. Oh well, whatever happens, happens. And the result was 5 years of working with no savings, no investments, no direction. Only when I started writing down my goal, in the next 6 months, save 50 million VND. Need to save 8.5 million VND per month. Need to cut 3 expenses. Need to add a small income source of 2 million VND per month. Did things start to change? Why do people say that once you know what you want, the entire universe will help you achieve it? Because then your brain starts prioritizing information, behaviors, and opportunities related to that goal. You will know what to do and what to refuse. You will learn to say no to anything that doesn't serve your goal. But if you don't have a goal, you'll easily be swayed into spending sprees. You won't know which job to choose, which skill to learn, and you'll always feel tired due to lack of direction. Financial goals aren't just for entrepreneurs or wealthy people. They are for everyone serious about changing their lives. So from today, write down, how much money do I want to have in 1 year? Where will I earn money from? What do I need to achieve that? Then break it down into weeks and months and track your progress. And remember, goals don't need to be perfect. They just need to be clear enough to keep you from standing still. If you are ready to live with clear goals, comment, "I know what I want," as a definitive declaration from today. And now for the 7th thing, which makes poor people work all year round but never achieve freedom: not building passive income systems. The 7th thing is what creates a clear difference between those who only work to live and those who can stop working but still have money flowing in: not building passive income systems. Have you ever asked yourself, if you stopped working for 3 months, would any money still flow into your account? If the answer is no, then you are living 100% on active income. And that is an extremely huge risk that most poor people don't realize. Poor people are used to the concept of earning money when they work and not earning when they don't work. This mindset makes them exchange time, effort, and youth to earn every penny. And when their energy runs out, when old age comes, when unforeseen events happen, their income also disappears. Rich people, on the other hand, build systems. Products, content, dividends, real estate, automated channels, also that one day money still comes in even when they are no longer actively working. They ask, how can I do something once and get paid many times? How can I gradually work less but my income doesn't decrease? How can I multiply results without multiplying time? Simple examples: write an ebook that sells thousands of copies, record a course that people buy all year round, build a YouTube channel where old videos still bring in ad revenue, do affiliate marketing once, attach a link and others click it, you get a commission. Rent out real estate, you collect rent every month. Build a community, introduce products, earn commissions. You don't need to be rich to create passive income. You need a mindset and to start early. I used to think passive income required billions of VND, but it turns out you can start very small. Make a fan page to share knowledge and attach a Shopee link. Write a series of blog posts. Place Google ads. Record videos sharing skills you're good at. Build a brand. Offer services for a while. Write guides and sell them to newcomers. Successful people always ask one question: can the work I'm doing today be turned into a system? If yes, they will record it, optimize it, teach it, and replicate it. If not, they will consider moving to something more sustainable. What about poor people? They only focus on earning money today without thinking about, what if I take a month off? What if my job is cut? What if there's a family emergency?
who will take care of the finances. That's why many people work their whole lives and still don't dare to retire, because they don't have an automatic money printing machine. Passive income is not about getting rich quick, but it is a long-term solution for you to have freedom of choice. It's a way for you not to be forced to work out of fear of hunger. It's a way for you to dare to refuse toxic jobs and negative relationships. And you can start today, very small. Write down your work processes, note down what you do well, turn it into an information product, or find a way for it to operate without you. Remember, rich people don't work forever. They let money work for them. And that doesn't come from magic, but from thinking about systems from the very beginning. If you understand the importance of this, comment, "I will build passive income for my future," as a milestone that you are truly taking action. And now to the 8th thing, which ordinary people often think is difficult for them, but is actually the leverage key that helps rich people go much faster. Not knowing how to utilize leverage. The 8th thing is what successful people always actively seek and utilize, while poor people often avoid, doubt, or even don't know about. Not knowing how to utilize leverage. Have you ever wondered why some people go much faster than you, even though they are not smarter, harder working, or have more capital? The answer lies in 2 words: leverage. Poor people tend to do everything themselves. They believe that to do something well, they must do it themselves. They shoulder everything from the smallest tasks, finding customers, closing deals, delivering goods, customer service, accounting. They are proud of their diligence, but get stuck in that very diligence. Meanwhile, rich people ask, who can help me do this faster? What tools can replace my effort? What resources can I borrow instead of doing it myself? They use people, technology, capital, systems, communities, and even other people's time as their leverage. Leverage isn't just money. There are many types of leverage. People leverage, hiring freelancers, collaborators, small teams. Technology leverage, ChatGPT, CapCut, AI tools, management software. Content leverage, writing one article and sharing it on 5 platforms. Financial leverage, raising capital, attracting investment, utilizing installment payment benefits for business. Community leverage, creating fan pages, groups, building a playground to lead the crowd. I used to think I didn't have enough money to hire people, but then I learned to hire part-time students, outsource small tasks through platforms like Fiverr or Upwork, and use free software to replace permanent staff. And the result was increased efficiency, unchanged costs, and reduced pressure. Poor people are afraid to share, afraid to lose control, afraid of risk. But precisely because they keep everything to themselves, they slow down, get tired, and cannot expand. Meanwhile, rich people accept sharing benefits to go further. They believe in a win-win mindset instead of everything is mine. I have a friend who is a stay-at-home mom. She's good at writing content, but doesn't know how to make videos. Instead of learning from scratch, she collaborated with a student who knew how to edit videos, splitting the profits from TikTok affiliate marketing. After 6 months, they had 5 TikTok channels generating over 50 million VND per month. It all started with one question: who can help me do this faster? Do this better? You too. Whether you're selling online, a freelancer, an office worker, or a student, don't just rely on yourself. Use your entire network. Ask yourself these questions for everything you're doing. Can I do it faster? Is there anyone better than me? What tools can I use to save time? You don't need to be good at everything. You just need to focus on your strengths and let leverage support the rest. And that's how rich people scale, create systems, and free up time, while poor people are still running in circles. If you realize you're doing everything yourself, comment, "I will use leverage to go further," as an extremely important mindset shift. And now we move on to the last thing, something rich people always do silently, but is the root of all major transformations in their lives: not learning from those who have gone before. The 9th thing, which sounds simple, is actually the biggest key to ordinary people becoming extraordinary: not learning from those who have gone before. Do you know why rich people get richer while poor people struggle? not just because of capital, not just because of luck, but because rich people always learn from the experiences of others, while poor people have to bash their heads against the wall to learn for themselves. Poor people often have this mindset. I have to experience it myself to believe it. I don't need anyone to tell me. I can do it myself. People who are rich only say smart things like that. And so they repeat mistakes that thousands of others have already made. Meanwhile, successful people do the opposite. They find people who have gone before them and learn from both their successes and failures. They read books, listen to podcasts, follow people who are better than them, actively ask questions, and join study groups. They are not afraid of being told they're inferior. They are afraid of wasting time on avoidable mistakes. Do you know that a 100,000 VND book can contain the experience of someone who spent 10 years and 10 billion VND to gain? A video shared by a successful startup founder can save you 3 years of trial and error. The right advice at the right time can save you from unnecessary debt. I used to be very confident, trying to learn marketing by myself, building my own website, creating my own strategies. I struggled for a year with no results. Only when I decided to take an in-depth course from someone who had succeeded in the industry did I realize why I hadn't learned earlier. That person pointed out 3 basic mistakes that kept me from selling. After fixing them, my orders doubled in 3 months. A lesson: learning from the right person saves years of mistakes. Smart people always ask, who has done this before me? What can I learn from their journey? What failures did they encounter that I can avoid? What did they do differently that I can learn from? No one forces you to learn from a millionaire mentor or a 20 million VND course. You can start by following people who have the results you want. Learn from successful people in the 9 areas you're working on. Send messages to ask, request sharing, listen to experiences, join communities of like-minded people. I once knew a 20-year-old student with no money and no connections, but he actively contacted experienced freelancers, asked how to get started, took careful notes, and applied bit by bit. 2 years later, he was a 6-figure freelancer teaching others. Because he understood that self-learning is necessary, but learning from those who have gone before shortens the path. What about you? Are you silently groping in the dark, or have you actively asked questions, sought solutions, and messaged for advice? Those who have gone before are not there for you to admire, but for you to learn from. And most importantly, when you learn and understand, go back and share with others. Because that's how the circle of knowledge multiplies, and you become a guide for those behind you. If you truly realize the power of learning from those who have gone before, comment, "I will learn from successful people instead of struggling alone," as a commitment to shorten your journey to wealth. And now you have gone through all 9 things. 9 things that seem simple, but if lacking, you can remain poor your whole life, even if you work tirelessly. Now it's time for us to conclude, synthesize, and take action. You've made it this far. That means you are not like the majority. The majority will scroll past this video after the first few minutes. The majority will say, "Sounds good," and then go back to their old lives. But you have stayed until this very minute. You have dared to confront 9 truths, each of which can touch on habits, fears, and deeply ingrained ways of thinking that have been with you for many years. Take a few seconds to breathe and look back once more. Thing 1, are you letting time slip away without exchanging it for any value? Thing 2, are you living solely on a single income source? Thing 3, are you buying too many liabilities, thinking they are assets? Thing 4, have you invested in yourself intelligently and strategically? Thing 5, are you letting emotions guide all your financial decisions? Thing 6, have you ever written down specific, time-bound financial goals? Thing 7, are you building any system that helps you earn money while you sleep? Thing 8, are you going it alone, doing everything yourself, forgetting the power of leverage?
Thing 9. Are you learning from those who have gone before, or are you still trying and failing on your own in uncertainty? If at least 3 of these things made you startle, then you hold in your hand an opportunity to change your entire financial life. But remember, knowing these 9 things won't make you rich. Acting on these 9 things will turn your life around. And don't try to change everything at once. Choose the one thing you find most urgent and start acting on it today. If you currently only have one income source, think about how to create a second one. If you've never written financial goals, spend 10 minutes writing them down right after this video. If you haven't invested in yourself, find a suitable course and start learning this week. One small, consistent action will change your entire life. Don't wait until you're pushed to the wall to change. Don't wait for a crisis to learn how to control money. Choose to be clear-headed while there's still time instead of regretting when it's too late. And if you found this video resonated with you, share it with a friend who was struggling like you once were, because helping someone wake up sooner is one of the kindest things you can do today. Finally, comment below one thing you commit to changing today. Whether it's, I will rewrite my financial goals, or I will start looking for collaborators, or simply, I will not spend money based on emotions anymore. Writing it down is the first step of commitment. Commitment is the first step of change, and change is the first step of freedom. I believe in you because you have reached the very end of this video. See you in the next video where we will explore deeper, more practical, and more powerful financial strategies. Remember to like, subscribe to the Doubtlep channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any more transformative journeys. I am your companion on the journey to wealth, and I am very proud that you have started.
Have you ever met someone who dresses ordinarily, doesn't drive a fancy car, doesn't have the latest phone, and doesn't wear designer watches, but when needed, they can transfer hundreds of millions or even billions of Vietnamese dong without hesitation? That is the type of person who is quietly rich, someone who doesn't show off, isn't noisy, and doesn't need anyone to know. But they are very, very rich. And there's an interesting truth. The more people show off, the more those who truly possess wealth choose to live a quieter life. You're watching this video perhaps because you are also looking for a different path, a way to succeed without competing for the spotlight, without needing to stand out in the crowd, but still being financially stable. I am here to show you that this is entirely possible. In today's video, I will share with you 5 professions that almost no one talks about, which are not glamorous, do not require high academic degrees, and do not need powerful connections, but their income is enough to change your perception of the concept of wealth. I am not talking about trending professions. I am not talking about quick money. I am talking about sustainable, quiet professions, and once you enter them, you will understand why people can work quietly and get rich quietly. If you used to think that to be rich, you had to be exceptionally talented, have influence, or have strong connections, then you should watch this entire video, because you might be overlooking a path that even the most ordinary people can take. If you believe that success means making a big splash, then perhaps after this video, you will realize that fanfare does not create wealth, but rather quiet daily actions do. And before we begin, if you find this video helpful to you or someone seeking direction in life, please press subscribe to support the channel. I don't make videos to shock. I make them so that those who are quietly striving have another perspective, another path, another opportunity. Now, let's begin. 5 quiet, high-income professions that hardly anyone talks about. There is a common misconception that many young people today are making. They think that to get rich, there are only 2 paths. One is to study very well and get a very high degree, and the other is to do a very famous, very trendy job. But they forget one thing. Money doesn't care which school you attended, and money doesn't care if many people know you. Money only flows to where it is understood and where people know how to make it grow. Many people are living in a thought box built by society. They are taught that only doctors, engineers, directors, or large business owners can earn a lot of money. But what is the reality? There are professions that sound ordinary, have no glamour, and are not mentioned at success parties. But they bring regular, stable income, sometimes many times more than the professions praised by society. Why is that?
Because there are professions that serve real needs. Because there are professions that few people dare to do, so those who do them will never be short of work. And because there are professions that are less known and have less competition, their income tends to be higher. A friend of mine who finished middle school, did not go to college, and pursued a profession that no one would think of. It wasn't an office job, not online business, not a creative profession. But after 5 years, he bought a house, got married, had savings of several billion Vietnamese dong, and most importantly, was not stressed about money. What do you think he did? I will tell you later, but what I want you to realize is that not every profession that is praised is a good profession. Not every job that many people know about is a money-making job. And not everyone who is successful needs to tell the whole world how much they are earning. This is what I have learned after more than 10 years of observing, experiencing, and witnessing dozens of people quietly rise up. They chose a path with less dust, less glamour, but full of certainty. When you meet them, you won't think they are rich, but when you sit down and talk, you will be astonished by their mindset, their financial freedom, and the way they choose to live. And that made me ask a question. How many people are missing out on good money-making opportunities just because of prestige? We are living in a society where everyone wants to be recognized, everyone wants to do something that sounds impressive. But do you dare to do a job that isn't glamorous, doesn't get likes, but helps you achieve freedom, provides for your family, and frees you from financial worries? If your answer is yes, then this video is for you, because I will show you that wealth doesn't just have one path, and sometimes the quietest path is the one with the most money. Now imagine two people with the same starting point. One chooses the path of pursuing a degree, attending university for 4 to 6 years, then graduating and finding an office job with a stable monthly salary. The other chooses to do a job that doesn't require a university degree, starts earlier, and is initially harder. But they can be self-employed, control their time, and their income depends on their ability, and is not limited by a fixed salary. After 5 years, the first person might be earning a salary of a little over 10 million Vietnamese dong per month, still paying off a motorcycle and not yet daring to think about buying a house. What about the second person? They might not be called intellectuals, but they have accumulated hundreds of millions, even billions of Vietnamese dong because they chose a path less traveled, less noticed, but with very high practical value. A friend of mine finished high school and didn't go to college. He went to learn a trade and worked with an electrician plumber for nearly 2 years. Initially, his salary was very low, but after just 3 years of splitting off to work independently, running 3 to 5 repair jobs a day, his average income ranged from 1.5 to 3 million Vietnamese dong per day. In a low month, he could earn about 30 to 40 million, and in a high month, it could reach 70 to 80 million. All of this thanks to a job that society often looks down upon. It doesn't require an office, no loud advertising, just solid skills, dedication, and maintaining a good reputation. Customers refer more customers, and the best part is that he is almost never unemployed. Every house has electricity and water, and those systems can always malfunction. If you want financial freedom, if you want a high income without relying on anyone, this is a profession worth considering. The second profession is one that many people will laugh at when they hear it, but after laughing, they will reconsider. That is scrap metal collection and recycling. I'm not talking about picking up trash. I'm talking about people who do organized scrap metal collection. They build a network. They have people who collect, they have collection points, they have trucks to transport goods, and they have connections to sell to recycling factories. It doesn't sound glamorous, but some scrapyard owners handle tens of millions of Vietnamese dong in goods every day, with a profit margin of 10 to 20%. Working 30 days, they can bring home hundreds of millions of Vietnamese dong. A cousin of mine has been doing this profession for over 15 years, starting from scratch. Initially, it was just a tricycle and a scale, but thanks to hard work, not being afraid of dirt, and not caring about what people said, he now has 2 trucks, a nearly 500 square meter warehouse, and earns hundreds of millions of Vietnamese dong every month. You know, people often judge professions by clothes, appearance, and reputation, but money doesn't discriminate. Money only comes to those who dare to look deeper than the surface and dare to do things others disdain. Quiet wealth sometimes starts from very small things, but when you do it consistently, for a long time and correctly, it becomes a solid career.
The third profession is one that surprises many people because they thought it was outdated. But in reality, it is a hidden gold mine in the current era. That is household furniture woodworking. From beds, wardrobes, shelves, stairs, wooden doors, to tables and chairs, every house needs them. And as people become more affluent, they don't just need functional items. They need beautiful, durable, personal, unique items. Small woodworking shops, even if not located in city centers, operate at full capacity, sometimes even having to turn down orders because they can't keep up. I once interviewed an older brother who works in this profession on the outskirts of the city. He learned the trade at 18 years old, initially working as an assistant, cleaning wood, painting, and cutting. But after 5 years of persistent learning, he opened a small workshop right next to his house, doing his own work, designing, and delivering. Now, he no longer needs to actively seek customers. Customers find him and place deposits a month in advance. On average, each product yields a profit of several million Vietnamese dong. Selling just 10 orders a month is enough to earn 50 million. In peak months, when working on interiors for an entire house, he can earn hundreds of millions of Vietnamese dong in just a few weeks. No degree, no need to be good at theory, just patience with the craft, willingness to improve skills, update designs, and maintain reputation. Woodworking will never be outdated because people always need to live in beautiful and convenient spaces. And most importantly, this is a profession that can be passed down from generation to generation. Once you master it, you can teach your children, expand your workshop, train apprentices, and gradually you won't have to work directly, but money will still flow in steadily.
Next, the fourth profession is one that surprises many people because they thought it was just odd jobs, but it creates a steady stream of income every day. That is delivery driver for goods, food, or app-based services. It sounds too ordinary, right? But try to imagine. In a single day, a full-time driver can make 20 to 30 trips, with each trip earning tens of thousands of Vietnamese dong. Earning 700,000 to 1 million Vietnamese dong a day is very normal. Multiply that by 25 working days, and you can reach an income of 20 to 25 million Vietnamese dong a month. Not to mention, many people have their own strategies. They group orders during peak hours. They choose easy areas. They register for additional delivery apps, picking up orders from multiple sources. Some even hire additional drivers to form a small team. A friend of mine, 30 years old, no college degree, had done all sorts of jobs and finally settled on professional delivery. He invested in a good vehicle, neat attire, and maintained a proper attitude. So customers valued him, gave him high ratings, and the system prioritized his orders. The result was that his monthly income was higher than his peers working in office jobs. The good thing about this profession is that you earn as much as you work. There are no limits, no control. And if you know how to calculate, choose your time and orders wisely, this is a job that truly helps many people rise. You don't need a degree, you just need health, quickness, and discipline. And the wonderful thing is that you get real-world exposure, seeing the flow of life every day, something you would never feel sitting in an office. And finally, the fifth profession, one that has been quietly developing strongly in recent years, especially after the pandemic, is in-home elderly care. It sounds simple, but the demand is real. In modern society, children work all day, and elderly parents are frail and have no one to look after them. The elderly need someone to be with them, chat, cook, assist with daily activities, remind them to take medication, and take them to doctor's appointments. And if you think this job is just watching people, you are overlooking an entire service industry with great potential. In large cities, an hourly home caregiver can earn from 80 to 150,000 Vietnamese dong per hour. Working 6 to 8 hours daily, you can have an income comparable to office workers. If you have basic medical knowledge, know first aid, and know how to assist the elderly with movement, you will be paid much higher. I once knew a girl from the countryside who came to the city, initially working as a domestic helper. Later, she took a course in elderly healthcare. After 2 years, she no longer worked as a helper, but worked shifts caring for the elderly by appointment. She only worked 20 days a month, 6 hours a day, and earned nearly 30 million Vietnamese dong, much higher than many of her peers who graduated from college. The good thing about this profession is that it brings real value, not just money, but also the joy of helping others. You are thanked, trusted, and seen as part of the family you care for. And for those who work with dedication, they not only retain clients, but also get referrals. The work is consistent, there is never a shortage of people as the elderly population is growing and medical services are increasingly overloaded. Whoever grasps the trend of home care grasps the opportunity for long-term earnings. And most importantly, this is a profession that few young people dare to do because they are afraid of the hardship, the dirtiness, and what society might think. But if you can overcome those prejudices, you will see that financial opportunity is right in your hands. Quiet, but powerful.
The 5 professions mentioned may not make you famous or admired, but if you choose the right profession, do it the right way, and maintain the right mindset, you can absolutely live a fulfilling, free life without worrying about money. Being quietly rich is not because you can't show off, but because there's no need to show off. Now, stop for a moment and ask yourself, what are you looking for in this life? Fame? Recognition? Or freedom, peace, and the ability to provide for your family without looking at the price every time you buy something? If you choose freedom, the 5 professions I just shared may not be the path for the majority, but they are certainly the path for practical people. Those who understand that the value of a job is not in its name, but in the results it brings. I know there will still be people who will laugh after hearing this. They will say, I wouldn't do those jobs, they're not glamorous. But then a few years later, when they're still struggling, changing jobs with unstable incomes and drowning in debt, those who chose the path of quiet wealth will already have a house, a car, investment capital, and most importantly, they won't have to worry too much about tomorrow. Success is not for those afraid to get their hands dirty. Success is not for those who just sit and wait for perfect opportunities. Success is for those who know how to choose the right battleground and fight there every day. I am not advising you to quit school, nor am I telling you to abandon your current profession. I just want you to broaden your perspective, to know that there are many other paths out there that if you are willing to observe, listen, and start doing, you will find a very different direction, a practical and effective direction. You don't need to do all 5 professions. Just choose one that suits your circumstances, personality, and ability. Do it very well, consistently, for a long time, and then you will see that you don't need to become famous to be rich. You just need to become valuable to the right group of customers. This world does not lack opportunities. It only lacks people who dare to choose ordinary opportunities and make them extraordinary through perseverance. If you are in your 20s or 30s looking for a direction, this is the best time to start. And if you are older doing a job you no longer love with unstable income, it's not too late either. Many people have changed their lives from unexpected jobs just because they dared to think differently and dared to start over. Quiet wealth is not for those who like to show off, but for those who genuinely want to live the life they choose, not the life society imposes. And to walk that path, the path of quiet wealth, you need to change one very important thing: your mindset. The mindset of the quietly rich is not like the majority. They don't chase glamour. They don't try to impress. They don't need to compare themselves to anyone. They only focus on one thing: doing their job well and doing it every day without stopping. Ordinary people choose easy jobs with less pressure but low salaries. The quietly rich choose jobs that few people want to do but have high and stable long-term incomes. Ordinary people follow the crowd, work based on inspiration. If they like it, they do it. If not, they quit. The quietly rich see work as a journey of training, as a responsibility. They are committed to it. Ordinary people often say, I don't have time, I don't have capital, I don't know where to start. The quietly rich will say, I have 2 hours a day, I'll start from there. I don't have capital yet, but I have my labor. I don't know, but I will learn. The biggest difference between the rich and the perpetually poor is not in opportunities,
but in how they look at opportunities. Some people look at a job and say it's boring, no future. Other people look at the same job and say, no one is doing this, I will. Less competition, huge demand. If I do it well, I will have money. And the second type of person is the one quietly succeeding every day, while the first type of person is still complaining, still dreaming of a job that is easy, glamorous, and high-paying but never comes. So if you want to change your life, don't look for the most glamorous job. Look for a job that has real demand, little competition, and you can start right from your current position. Go to work, learn, accept an imperfect start, and then you will see that the most wonderful thing is not that you are smarter than others, but that you are more persistent, more realistic, and quieter than them. Because out there, truly successful people don't have time to show off. They're busy working, busy accumulating, busy living the life that many people only dream of. Quietly rich is not because they have nothing to say, but because what they are doing is valuable enough to speak for itself. And you know what? Quietly rich people aren't often just rich in money. They're also rich in experience, rich in time, and rich in peace. They don't need to check in every day to affirm themselves. They don't need anyone to praise them. Because for them, true satisfaction is when they look at a full bank account, when their children are well educated, when they wake up every morning without having to worry about how much is left in their wallet.
I once asked an uncle who had been a scrap collector for over 20 years if he felt sad when people called this a low-status job. He smiled and replied, "Sad? Yes, but will sadness buy land? Will sadness put 3 children through college?" That answer left me silent, because in that silence was a whole life lived authentically, working genuinely, and becoming truly rich. If you are hesitant, if you are skeptical, try starting by observing. Look around where you live. How many people live simply, without showing off, without uttering philosophies, without posting success photos, but every year they renovate their house, buy a car, get a new phone, and fully provide for their family? Who are they? What do they do? You will realize one thing. Real life is much more practical than social media, and money doesn't follow those who speak well. Money flows to those who know how to work diligently. The sooner you understand that, the sooner you will escape the spiral of comparison and the mental traps that modern society sets for you every day. You don't need to do a great job in the eyes of others. You just need to do the right job for yourself, one that is suitable, long-term, in demand, valuable, and you do it better than 90% of others. That is the formula for wealth. Unflashy, no empty philosophies, just reality. Just dare to change your perspective. Dare to ask, are there any professions that don't require a degree but still bring stable income? That question will open a door for you, a door leading to paths less traveled. But once you walk that path, you won't want to turn back, because you will see that here no one is jostling, no one is fighting. It's just you with your work, with peace, and with money flowing steadily into your account every month. And then you will start to realize that not everyone needs to be famous to succeed. Not everyone needs a university degree to have a high income. Not everyone needs to step onto a stage to be called a winner. There are people who quietly work. They are not good at talking, they are not good at expressing themselves, but they are good at one thing: perseverance and seeing things through. They wake up earlier than you. Late at night, they are still planning and organizing work for the next day. They don't post stories, don't live stream, don't create content, but they live very authentically. They work very consistently, and money comes to them as a fair reward. This society inherently has its own rules. If you follow the crowd, you will be caught in an endless race. The harder you try to run, the more you will feel empty. But if you step back a little, choose a different direction, take a different path, you will discover that path is less crowded, but easier to breathe. And at the end of the path are achievements that many people never imagined.
I once met an elderly man who drove a motorized tricycle taxi in Tan Binh district. He said something that I will never forget. "I can't talk well and I didn't study much, but I can live. My children go to school. My wife doesn't have to work every day. I work 10 hours a day, but I can control my time. I don't have to ask for leave. I don't get fired. I am free. Hearing that, I could only remain silent, because that is a form of success that many highly educated office workers who go to work early and come home late every day have not yet achieved. Quiet wealth sometimes isn't about the amount of money you earn, but about your autonomy over your life. You control your time, your decisions, your income. No one dictates to you, no one forces you, and that is the most sustainable wealth. Therefore, if you are feeling stuck, if you haven't found your direction, look back at the 5 professions I shared. You don't need to choose all of them. Just choose one, learn it thoroughly, work consistently and seriously. Then you will see that no matter how low your starting point, you can still go where you want, as long as you are persistent enough, realistic enough, and dare to walk a path unlike the majority. Don't let vanity deceive you. Don't let the eyes of others control your choices. Ultimately, only you live your life, and only you are responsible for your financial results. No one else will pay your bills. No one else will secure your future. So why live according to others' expectations when you can fully live according to your own choices? And if you have listened this far, I believe you possess a very special inner strength, because not everyone is patient enough to listen to real truths in a noisy world of flowery words. You have gone through the first parts. You have heard me talk about 5 seemingly simple professions that bring stable income, and you have also felt the difference in mindset between those who follow the crowd and those who choose to live practically, sustainably, and quietly.
Now, the biggest question remaining is, what will you do with what you have just heard? Some people will nod, find it interesting, then turn off the video and continue their old lives, repeating days with limited income and a feeling of stagnation. But there will also be people who, at this very moment, will put down their coffee, get up, and start truly researching one of the professions I just shared, and they are the ones who will change their future. I know that starting is never easy, and restarting is even harder, but in return, you will gain something others don't have: true self-confidence, true stability. No need to talk much. No need to prove yourself. Your life itself will reflect your choices. You might not have a high education, not be good at technology, not have connections, not have a favorable starting point. But if you have the right attitude, true diligence, and a see-it-through mindset, you will win. Maybe not quickly, but definitely stably. Money does not go to the smartest person. Money does not go to the best talker. Money goes to the most persistent person. And if today you decide to change, you won't need another year to prepare. You just need a week, a day, an hour to start taking action. And if you found this video valuable, if you feel it can help someone struggling with life, please share it. Who knows? You might be the person who helps someone else find light in their life. And if you want to continue accompanying me, continue listening to real-life lessons from real people, then press the subscribe button. Not for me, but for you, so you don't miss out on values where sometimes just one sentence can change an entire life. I'm the one who chose to make videos to inspire from reality. And you, the listener, are the reason I continue. Quiet wealth is not for those who like glamour, but for those who want to live true to their real values. And if you are that kind of person, I believe you will succeed, and you will succeed in your own beautiful and peaceful way.
Do you remember the feeling when you first held a few million Vietnamese dong in your hand from your own labor? It wasn't just money. It was the feeling of self-sufficiency, of understanding that you can do it without dependence. And that's when you begin to understand that income doesn't need to come from sophisticated professions, but from your own diligence, consistency, and seriousness with the profession. I once met a man in his early 40s from the Mekong Delta region. He didn't go to college, wasn't on social media, and didn't know how to run ads. Yet every month he earned over 100 million Vietnamese dong simply by doing one thing: custom woodworking. Customers sought him out because of his reputation, quality, and meticulousness down to every detail. He didn't post articles or preach. He just had a notebook listing clients and delivery schedules. That's it. Each time I asked him why he didn't expand or hire more people, he just smiled.
I have enough, son. Doing it this way is within my capacity, my wife and children are healthy, and there's no shortage of money. Why expand and suffer? People like him, you won't see them at seminars. They don't give speeches, don't post philosophies online, but they live prosperously. They provide for their parents and children. They don't have debt. They don't worry about unemployment. That is success that doesn't need applause, and that is the common trait of the quietly rich. They have their own limits of enough. They don't chase the illusion of needing to earn a lot more than others. They just need enough to live comfortably, decently, and freely. And then, when they are not under pressure, they earn more than those who struggle for money all day long. We are living in an era where everyone wants to be a boss, but few understand that true mastery begins with mastering oneself, from time and mindset to emotions. The quietly rich know this well. They are not caught in the race. They choose stable, reliable work. They invest in things that can last 5 or 10 years, not chasing trends to make quick money in a month and then lose everything the next. A neighbor of mine, over 30 years old, has been doing in-home elderly care for nearly 6 years. Everyone thought it was hard and dirty work, but she is now fully booked all month, earning from 25 to 35 million Vietnamese dong, not to mention gifts and extra money from many appreciative families. But what I admire most is not the amount of money she earns, but her persistence and seriousness with the profession. Every day she is on time and every patient is cared for like family. And when I asked her, "Don't you find it hard?" she just smiled. "It was at first, but now I'm used to it. Besides, if hard work brings value, it's worth it."
Hearing that, I remembered young people who complained, "I work 8 hours a day in an office, but my salary is only 10 million Vietnamese dong. I want to change jobs, but I haven't found anything better." So why not try a profession few people want to do? Why not try a different path? The biggest barrier is not external, but within your own mind. You're used to thinking that high-paying jobs must be clean, office-based jobs. But in reality, money doesn't care whether you work in an air-conditioned room or in the sun. Money only cares about what value you create, what problems you solve, whether you are trustworthy, and whether you are consistent. I once witnessed a ride-hailing driver who wasn't outstanding, wasn't good at talking, and didn't even have a high level of education. But every day he worked 10 hours, was very punctual, never skipped a shift, never canceled the trip. Every week he submitted money and went home to pay his children's tuition on time. His wife stayed home and didn't need to work. One time I asked him, "Don't you feel tired, driving for dozens of hours every day?" He replied lightly, "Tired, yes, but it's better than sitting idle and thinking about borrowing money." A simple statement, but very profound, because it reflects one thing. The quietly rich don't think in terms of be comfortable first, then figure it out later. They think in terms of a little hardship now for safety, autonomy, and confidence later. You know what? When I sat and talked with these people who seemed so ordinary, I discovered they had one common characteristic: clear-headedness in every small decision. They don't splurge on new phones, they don't borrow money to spend, they don't travel to live virtually. They save every penny. They plan. They maintain discipline in spending, and thanks to that, they have real money, while many others out there have a beautiful image but empty wallets. That's why I always believe that quiet wealth is a lifestyle, a mindset, a strategic choice. And if you are thinking, "I also want to be rich, but I don't have opportunities like them," then you are making a big mistake, because opportunities are always around you. It's just that you haven't seen them because you are looking with the eyes of the majority. The majority always judges a profession by its reputation. Practical people judge a profession by its ability to generate income. The majority asks, "Is this job cool?" Practical people ask, "Does this job provide steady money?" The majority is attracted by appearances. Practical people choose professions based on logic, experience, and long-term calculation.
If you truly want to change your finances, learn to look at professions from the perspective of income, value, and societal demand. A profession doesn't need to be fashionable or trendy. As long as there is real demand, you can live well with that profession. And when you live well enough with the profession, you start to break away from the average. You have capital, you can invest, you expand, you hire more people, you automate, you increase productivity. And then you are no longer just a worker in that profession, but you become the owner of that profession. And when you have owned that profession, that is when you begin to touch true freedom.
freedom of time, freedom of decision, freedom of lifestyle. At that time, you don't need to worry about being late for work in the morning. You don't need to beg your boss when you want to take a few days off for family matters. You also don't need to look at your salary slip to calculate every meal or every tuition payment for your children. I know someone who was a delivery driver for 5 years, saved a significant amount of money, and then bought a small truck to deliver goods. A few years later, he no longer needed to drive. He hired people to drive, and he managed clients and delivery schedules. Now, every month, he only needs to organize contracts, and revenue flows steadily. He transitioned from a delivery person to an organizer of a delivery team. He didn't have a high education or start $1 million project, but he had one thing, the mindset of an owner from the smallest tasks. And you can do that too. Start by doing one job exceptionally well, better than 90% of others. Do it thoroughly, with integrity, with conscience, and then the job will repay you with stability, steady income, and customer trust. When you have a skill in hand, you are not passive. You don't worry about unemployment. You're not afraid of anyone abandoning you. You're not afraid of market changes because you have a foundation, you have experience, and most importantly, you have the habit of earning money the right way. Try asking how many people out there change jobs 3 or 4 times in just 1 or 2 years. They don't commit to any profession long enough for it to repay them what they deserve. Every few months, they look for new opportunities, complain that this job isn't suitable, try some new trend, and in the end, they always return to square one. Meanwhile, the quietly rich put their heads down and work. They don't talk much, don't complain. They accept the initial difficulties, then slowly improve their skills, raise their self-value, and after a few years, they have a stable profession, loyal customers, a steady income, and a peaceful life. They don't need anyone to call them boss. They also don't need to take glamorous photos. But whenever their child is sick, their parents need medicine, or there's an investment opportunity, they have real money to act immediately. And that's why I call them the quietly rich. They don't have many likes, but they have the power of choice. And the power of choice is the greatest luxury in this life. So, if you find yourself still stuck in a financial rut, review. Have you chosen the right profession? Are you truly serious about it? Have you worked long enough, well enough, consistently enough for the profession to repay you what they deserve? If the answer is no, then now is the time to start. No need to wait for anyone to guide you. No need to wait for ideal conditions. Just choose a profession with real demand that suits your ability and see it through. Quiet wealth is not luck, but the result of doing things right long enough without giving up. And I believe that if you follow that path, one day soon you won't need to ask how to get rich anymore, because by then you yourself will be living in wealth, quietly but with great pride.